drop the link right now for folks to call in. Are you feeling better? I'm feeling much better than I was yesterday, but as you can tell from my voice, not entirely better. So that's part of the reason why I thought I'd just do a call-in show today. So um, I'm not the one that's constantly talking and reading questions and stuff like that. So, but yeah, much better than yesterday. Yesterday I had a headache all day and was just generally tired. So got a really good night of sleep, ate some good food yesterday, took some medicine, and yeah, just had some good food for lunch as well. So yeah, we'll take some call-ins. So let's see.
All right, can you hear me okay?
I can, but let me get this sorted. There we are. Why does it keep doing that?
Can you not show my camera?
Can I not show your camera? Yeah, let's try this. Let's see if it works. If we could just get
I'm
your
trying
audio.
to take it off, but it's not.
Yeah, it's fine. Your audio's coming through. You don't have to take anything off. You're fine.
All right.
Yeah, I think people can hear you. So how you doing?
Okay.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Dwayne Mayford. I am a agnostic. I am not against any other religion. I will say that I am unconvinced of any sort of narrative. Not to say that there's anything wrong with any narrative. I think that it is okay to. I think Christianity is absolutely okay. You believe what you want to believe, but that's to say that if I have questions and if I have doubts, um, that is just me being curious. That's just me trying to better my knowledge of things. That's not me going after Christianity. But if you want to see it as that, then I'm sorry, but uh, I'm sorry you feel that way. But
Okay.
to start off,
I haven't felt any way just yet. Dwayne, have you watched my channel or my videos at any length of time?
yes, I did see I did see you on inspiring philosophy, and I'm very curious
Oh, that was a long time
to
ago.
see
That was like last
how
year.
knowledgeable you
That was last year. Okay, so yeah, so I guess I got a question here. So you said something that I think is interesting. You said you're agnostic, and then you said you're not convinced
Yes,
by any specific narrative. I'm assuming you mean religion by narrative.
yes,
Okay, so like before you get to religion, I think there's the question of like whether God exists or not. Like forget the narratives for one, second. The
yes.
question is that before you get to that, you might have to consider whether God exists or not. I mean, I would assume you're not convinced by any narrative if you already claim to be an agnostic. Like that just logically follows, correct?
Right, right.
Yeah, okay, so why are you an agnostic instead of,
That's right.
say, a theist or an atheist?
Well, to say that my God is the right God, you then have to prove
Yeah,
that
but
the God
you're
is a
talking about a
perfect God,
narrative question there. Sorry for
and
cutting you off,
there.
but that's a religion question. I'm not talking about the religion question of like whether Christianity is true over Islam or whatnot. I'm just saying plainly, why are you not an
Right, right,
atheist, and
right.
why aren't you a theist? Just the general sense of being a theist.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So why
gotcha, gotcha,
agnostic?
gotcha, gotcha. Okay, well, I am not a total atheist. Right, gotcha. I am not a total atheist because, well, to just look at it from a from a perspective that this universe did come from nothing, and there had to have been something from nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and to say that, well, that thing can't be God, well, you don't know that. Well, then to say that, well, that could be the Christian God. Okay, now we're going to another thing.
Yeah,
But to
I don't want
say
to deal with the Christian
there
God or the
can be a
non-Christian God right
God,
now.
that to me cannot. Right, right. So that to me, I see no problem in believing that. To believe that there was something that existed before all of creation. I see no illogical thinking there. I just think that's a very
Yeah, I just
logical way of thinking.
again,
Yes,
my
there had
question
to have
is
been a
why
higher
do you?
power that created the.
Yeah, my question is why are you saying you're an agnostic when you could just say you're a theist?
Well, what do you consider to be agnostic?
Well, an agnostic is someone that doesn't have an opinion either way on the existence of God. They neither believe nor disbelieve. That's by definition what an agnostic is. They're withholding judgment.
Right. And a theist and
A
and
theist
a
would be a person
theist
that
to you is
believes.
the same thing.
No, a theist is someone who believes in God in a very general sense. Like there is a
Right.
God. Probably this God is like we'd look at it in a monotheistic sense because of the logical arguments as to why there would be one God. And
Well, to be a said theist, you have to believe in a theology, and I don't.
no, I
I
don't think
believe
that's
that
true.
it is unknown,
Yeah, I don't
which is
think
what
that's
an
true.
agnostic
That's
is.
just not true.
You don't think that's what agnostic is?
No, I don't think that's what a theist
Well,
is.
well what you don't think that's what do you mean that's not true? Oh,
I don't think your
well,
view
a
of
theist is
yeah,
someone that believes in a certain, at least one God.
yeah.
You don't think that's what a theist is?
No, that is what a theist is. You said in order to be a theist, you would
Well,
have to believe in set theology, and I don't think that's true.
really?
Yeah, you don't have to hold to any
Okay,
particular
well then what is a
theological
theist to you?
view. Well, you don't have to believe in any specific theological view to believe that there is a God.
Well, then why call them a theist? Why not just call them an agnostic?
Because an agnostic withholds
If
judgment.
they don't hold to a specific view, then it's not
Yeah,
really known what they're.
okay, I think what you're confusing here is
Right.
whether you're an agnostic about a particular religion or you're an agnostic on the existence of God. So maybe you're agnostic when it comes to a particular religion, meaning you don't
No,
have a
no,
view
it
whether
is
this Christian
about the
versus that
existence
Christian is
of
true.
God. Well, yeah, yeah, that too. But I do believe that there is a higher power.
So
I
you're
do believe that that exists,
so you're not agnostic.
but it is unknown to me.
Yeah, that's fine, but you're not agnostic.
Then what
An
do you think I am?
agnostic is someone who withholds judgment on whether God exists or not. You are denying that. You're
Then
not
then
saying
what label would you give?
a theist. I'd say you're a theist. So like let's just
So
let's just
you would label me as a theist?
yeah, let's just take a couple of questions and we'll. So you said something like, "Hey, I think it's unreasonable or illogical to believe that everything came from nowhere. So I think there's a cause to this whole thing, right?" You said that in regards to why you're not an atheist. Okay, so
Yeah,
what?
I think that. Yeah,
Okay,
I
what
think
kind of a
that's.
cause could
I don't
bring?
think that's illogical to think that. No.
Are you misunderstanding what I'm saying? I was just quoting you back to yourself.
You didn't ask a question.
No, I was saying we're going to ask a number of questions. One of the things you said was it
Right,
would
and I
be
said, yeah, I
illogical.
don't think that's
Yeah.
an
So, okay,
illogical.
there's a cause to the universe, correct? You believe there's a cause
Of
to the
course.
universe.
Of course.
Okay. So, is this cause a personal cause? Meaning, does it have a will to bring into
There had to have
existence?
been a cause that when you say bring into existence, do you mean bring in the universe? Do you mean bring in planets? What do you mean
Yeah, the
specifically bring
universe.
into existence?
The universe.
Okay, well, sure.
Okay. So this cause of the universe that you believe in has a will, what we call volition, which means that it is a personal entity. Okay. I mean, I would sure hope that you would believe that this cause has a significant amount of power, if not all powerful.
Absolutely.
Okay. I would assume that you would believe this cause to the universe would be supremely knowledgeable, if not all knowledgeable.
But before we get into that, when you say uh, personal entity,
Mhm.
um, are you applying that because it created the universe?
I'm implying that because in order for something to have a will, it's a person.
It's a personal entity because it created something.
Anything that has a will is a person.
Oh, okay, all right. I thought you were going to something. Okay, yeah.
No, did you think I
Okay,
was
yeah.
talking about like relationships and
I
stuff like
agree. I
that?
agree. I misunderstood what you meant. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about like relational sort of stuff. I'm just talking about what makes a person kind of a
Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
agent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, would you say that this cause of the universe
Yeah.
would have to be?
I misunderstood that.
It's often
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
misunderstood. Would you say this cause of the universe would be like morally good?
Morally good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, morally good because it created the universe.
Not necessarily because, excuse me, not because necessarily it created the universe. I'm just saying, what would you be your conjecture on the morality of this being? It would have to be morally, like it can't be morally oblivious. If it's all knowing, or if it's some supremely knowing, good knowledge would you would assume lead to good moral understanding. No.
Well, I would certainly hope it has good morals. I don't know. I can't say. I can't say what another person's morals are, but I would certainly hope it is good.
But yeah, we're here talking about a creator that is by definition uncreated.
Correct.
Yeah. So, like, part of this goes into a conversation about like what would be considered like great, having like greater qualities, right? And we kind of project from the ground up. Um, you can maybe look at the um, the ontological argument on something like, I don't know how familiar you are with the ontological argument.
The ontological argument, I don't. No,
Okay, that's
I'm
fine.
not very
That's
familiar
fine.
with
I'm not
that.
necessarily going to give you the ontological
Actually,
argument,
let me go
but
quick
a
because
part of the ontological argument
I might
is
know what
that
you're talking about. I just don't remember it
that's okay.
exactly.
Part of the whole notion of the ontological argument is that God is the greatest conceivable being. When we're looking at these things, and I was being, kind of, I wasn't taking hard stances on, say, God having to be all powerful or having to be all knowing or having to be like morally all good, which are the pretty much the omni properties of God. Um, but if we're talking about the being that has no beginning, the being that has no cause for its own existence, we're kind of projecting as to what would make that being the greatest conceivable being. And if we're to think about that, then I think it's reasonable to give to that being all knowledge, supremely good or all good, all knowing, among some of the things. And therefore, you're left at a theistic definition of what God is. I mean, some people will call this the God of the philosophers. And again, this is what it won't leave you is to say, well, I'm agnostic on the existence of God. So you would have a belief that there's a God, and this God is all of these things, which makes you a theist.
So to say that this is greater than anything in the mind could imagine, that then I then have to believe that it must have great, amazing morals.
No, it's not that it's anything that I can imagine. It's the greatest conceivable being. It's the greatest thing you can conceive of. Two different things. What you said. It's not that I can't imagine or is beyond my imagination. So if you're thinking about beings like us, like you and I have moral properties, correct? Meaning we make decisions between what's right and wrong all the time.
Oh, so I could imagine.
Yeah, the greatest thing you can imagine, yes.
Correct.
Yeah. So if you and I
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah,
moral
yeah.
beings, and we have a significant amount of morality about us that we have an understanding of, you would assume that
Okay.
the one that created us is a higher and greater moral agent. Do you understand the logic there?
Do I subscribe to that belief? Is that what you're
No,
asking
I'm
me?
just saying, do you understand the logic there? Is that why someone would be reasonable to say the one who created us is greater than us in all these ways?
Right, but I'm asking, is there a delay?
It seems like there is, like you're
Is there a
hearing me
delay?
very late.
Because I'm answering, you're answering back like 10 seconds later.
Oh, yeah, I'm hearing you much later. That's weird.
Okay.
Do me a favor.
Is this fixing the problem?
I think so. Can you continue to talk?
Yeah, I get. Yeah, you're responding a little quicker than yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's because I'm waiting to hear you talk. I don't know if you want to drop the call and call back again. That might help. And then we can continue that
Okay,
conversation.
yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Okay. Okay, folks, what's going on? Hopefully, you guys are good. What's up, Nick? How you doing, man? It says, when's the next conference? Hold your horses. Hold your horses there, Mr. Nick Quint. Just chill a little bit, and then we'll announce that stuff.
All right.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
good. This is
I think
better?
that's better. Yeah, I think that's much better.
Okay.
Um,
What were we talking about?
yeah. So what I'm saying is, do you understand the logic of saying, hey, if we're created like this, if we are the way we are, you and I, say we have moral properties, it's safe to assume that the one who created us has greater moral qualities than us.
That is that is a logical way of thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a safe assumption, I think. And this is the way generally we're thinking about these things, because we can think about this when it comes to all sorts of things that human beings create, and that humanity is greater in various ways than the things that they create. And I think it's safe to assume that God has all these properties to a greatest, not only to a greater extent, but to the greatest extent. Or else that sort of begs the question as
there's
to
nothing
who.
wrong with thinking like that.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is, like, based on these arguments, you can come to a place of being a theist. Now, again, I'm not saying you're a Christian. I'm saying you're a theist at this point and not an agnostic. Because the agnostic
you're asking me
suspends
why
judgment.
am I? So you're asking me why am I not a theist and an agnostic?
Well, I think you're a theist from just a very short conversation with you. You're just saying you're agnostic, and I don't think that's a proper description of what you are.
So the fact that I have thoughts about the creator, that then makes me an atheist?
Well, you don't just have thoughts, but you have beliefs.
Well, it's actually more hopes, because you asked me, does the creator have good morals? And I said, I hope.
Yeah,
I didn't say, yeah, the creator has good morals. I said,
yeah,
well, I certainly
the
hope
cause
so.
the cause question, you were pretty sure about.
The cause question?
Yeah, like that the universe came from somewhere, that it was caused by something else.
Well, I said that that's a very logical way of thinking.
Yeah. You said, well, I can't be. Well, the reason you said it is you said because I can't be an atheist, because atheists don't.
Well, yeah, because atheists do not believe that there is a higher being, a higher creator, and I'm saying that there is nothing illogical of thinking that, well, there could have been a creator that created something from nothing. There's nothing illogical with that thinking.
Well, then there won't be atheism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But there is. Now, why people hold to that belief, that's neither here nor there. They're allowed to think that. And again, I have no problem with whatever belief there is. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with anything. I'm just saying, do we know for sure? Okay, that's another conversation.
That's true. Yeah, because now you're talking. When you say, "Do we know for sure?" I'm going to have to ask you all sorts of other questions to know whether that's the way knowledge works, or what you mean by sure, for example, is an important part of this conversation. I can be sure about many things, but not have 100% knowledge about it. But I can be sure.
And even if you are 100% sure, it doesn't mean it's true.
If you're 100% sure about something, it doesn't mean it's true.
Absolutely.
So 2 + 2 is 4. I'm 100% sure about that. Is that?
No. You're misunderstanding me. Okay. I'm not saying that's something that it is something that is true, or something that is irrevocably true. Whether you believe it or not, that's not what we're talking about.
Okay, yes,
I'm talking
correct.
about if you 100% believe that there are, the sky is opening up and that there's dragons coming out of the ground. Okay, you 100% believe that, but it doesn't mean it's true. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
you're talking about something that's irrevocably true.
Have you studied philosophy, Dwayne?
No, I have not studied philosophy.
Okay, so what we would call we would call one of those things kind of your epistemic confidence. So one has to do with the confidence that you have in believing certain things to be the case. The other one has to do whether the things are actually the case, like if it's validated by evidence and truth and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm not necessarily talking about when you said, like, if you're sure about it, or that kind of language. In that context, I'm just speaking about like whether the facts point to a certain conclusion. So if we look at all the
what are
stuff
the
that we
facts?
spoke about, well, what are the facts? The universe exists. That's a fact.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the universe exists, and it could not have come from nothing, so it came from something.
Okay.
Okay, that something would have to have a will. That's a logical deduction, because if
I'm
you
not
have
saying that
nothing,
there's.
but
I'm not saying I have a problem with that.
okay, so that's theism, is what I'm saying.
So to say that I have nothing wrong with that belief, that since I have theism.
Well, do you believe it to be the case or not? Like, do you
I'm
think
saying
that's
there's
true?
nothing wrong with.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, the facts were just stated. We have the universe. You said the universe can't come from anything, so it needs to have a cause. Do you
Right.
believe these things to be the case? Are these the facts leading to the conclusion?
I don't know.
You don't know that the universe exists and it had a cause?
No, I know that that the universe existed. I know that it had a cause.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
Okay, so the
That
universe
there
had
was
a
a reason
cause.
behind making the universe?
Say that again?
That there was a reason behind the making of the universe?
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with the reasons behind it in the universe. It's when you have something that doesn't exist, and that thing, and then the thing comes into existence. There is now a willpower that's been applied to the situation, which implies being a personal agent. Like,
Okay.
it's deductively the case. It must be the case. It is like 2 + 2 = 4. If that's the case,
Okay, yeah, that's not there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you keep saying there's nothing wrong with it. I know there's nothing wrong with that because it's logically deductively true.
Okay, then what is the point you're trying to make here?
Then if you believe that to be the case, then you're a theist. But
Okay.
you're coming to the conclusion and saying, well, I don't know. You can't do that. That's a cop-out. You've agreed to all the premises, and you're somehow not taking a conclusion for some reason.
No, it's to say that it has a will. Okay, that's fine. Then I'll take the label of theist.
Yeah,
But when
that
we go,
was my point.
Okay, but when we go into why, that's when
Or the
we
why
don't know.
question's completely different. I mean,
Right.
I'm just trying to get the facts laid out here before we ask questions of whys. Those get a lot more complicated.
Okay, so you had a problem with me calling myself an agnostic. That's what
Correct.
started all this.
Yes. My point
And-
was to just in the slight conversation is to say, well, I don't think you're an agnostic. I think you're a theist.
Okay.
And the reason why I
Okay.
say that is because then the conversation can progress in a certain direction, I think, that would be beneficial for everyone.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay, now look, so theism implies a number of things about God and his person. Let's just, whatever, we want to call it God, we want to call this thing the cause or whatever, the uncaused cause, however we want to play. I frankly don't care. I'm just saying God because it's easier. Theism implies a number of things. Like I said, will is extremely important. Now, if we're thinking about a being that is as knowing as could possibly be thought, considering the magnificence of the universe and the beauty and universe that's created, I think it's safe to assume, and there's historical data on this, and we'll get into that, that this being has revealed itself to us. And look, by the way, just theism disqualifies like 99% of religions out there. Just saying.
Well, you go into it revealing itself to us.
Okay, so I said two things there, so let me backtrack there. Just being a theist means anything contrary to theism would be false.
Okay.
Okay, so but that's like most religions in the world. The only religions in the world that actually correspond to theism properly are Christianity, Islam, and Judaism.
Okay.
And so like our options are like very limited now in regards to
Okay.
now all three of these religions claim revelation, correct?
Okay.
Um, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold, so I was bedridden yesterday all day. So all of these religions claim to be what we call revelatory religions, and I think it's advantageous to consider what they have to say. Like it's advantageous
we
to the
should absolutely
conversation.
consider what they say. There's
Hmm?
nothing wrong with that. We should
Yeah,
consider what they say. There's nothing wrong with that.
correct. Yeah, so I think there's a deductive form of this that will kind of bypass a lot of other ways of doing it. Okay, and I think the best way to do it, and I think where the difference really comes down to, is the person of Jesus and the resurrection of Jesus. Now I don't know how much you've thought about that.
That's the main. That's the main. That's the focal point of what really this belief is. That drives this theory.
Not this theory, but all three religions. That's the main thing they disagree about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Right?
true.
So let me put it this way: if Jesus lived and died and resurrected, that means he's the fulfillment of the Old Testament, therefore fulfilling Judaism. And any modern form of Judaism that says contrary to that is false.
Okay, that's true.
That also means if Jesus was lived, died, and resurrected, it also means Islam is false because Islam denies the death of Jesus.
Yes.
So I think it's just advantageous to look at the resurrection of Jesus because if Jesus lived, died, and resurrected, then all the stuff he said was true. His confidence and what he taught about the Old Testament and God's existence is true, which is that's revelatory about who God is. And therefore, Scripture is true, New Testament is true because he picked and put into motion the rest of church history. So it really comes down to that.
So basically what you're saying is if the resurrection is true, then that proves that God has revealed himself to us?
I think if the resurrection is true, therefore Christianity is true.
Well, obviously, if the resurrection is true, Christianity is true.
Yeah,
but
correct.
You're saying that if the resurrection is true, that is the ultimate evidence that God has revealed himself to us?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
Okay, well, the problem with that is that you can believe that Jesus was a historical person. You can believe that he lived and died, but you can still believe that and not believe that he was resurrected and not be totally convinced that he was resurrected. And I think that there's good reason to, because, well, the ultimate evidence that we have for the resurrection is the martyrdom of the apostles. And, well, I wouldn't exactly call that evidence because, the
But
9/11
why do you think
hijackers.
that's the ultimate evidence we have is the martyrdom of the apostles?
I'm not saying I think that. I'm saying that Christians believe that.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's true.
So what is the ultimate evidence for the resurrection?
The historical data. I don't know why the martyrdom is a conversation here.
Because that is, well, what do you mean? You're saying that the martyrdom of the apostles is not historical evidence for the resurrection?
No, I mean, the most you can do with the martyrdom of the apostles would be that they believed it enough to die for it, which is like supporting evidence. I wouldn't say it's evidence for the resurrection.
So what would you consider evidence for the resurrection?
Well, let's consider all the options that exist before us in regards to why there's an empty tomb on the third day.
So You're saying that the martyrdom is supporting evidence to the empty tomb on the third day? You're saying that the witnesses for the empty tomb are supporting evidence for it?
Well, they believed it enough to die for it, yeah. But even
I
if they
wouldn't say
didn't
that's
die for
supporting.
it,
I would say that that's really all the evidence we have.
yeah,
I think that's
just
the better way to put it.
why. I mean, nobody argues that.
Well, what do you mean?
But the best
What do you mean
resurrection.
nobody argues that?
Because the best resurrection scholars on the subject don't argue it like that. And Christians haven't argued it for
You're
that.
saying you're saying that scholars on the resurrection don't bring up that there were witnesses of the empty tomb?
No, that's not what I said. I said
What do
they
you
don't
say?
argue that that's the ultimate reason or evidence for the resurrection. So
Okay.
consider the apostles before they died, when they were going around and telling people that Jesus resurrected from the dead before their martyrdom. Like, how would the martyrdom be the ultimate thing for the resurrection?
I'm not saying that's the case.
Yeah, I'm just saying the Christians you've listened to aren't arguing that, unless you've listened to people who've argued that and are wrong. Or
What do you mean
misunderstood
they
them.
don't argue that? Almost every single resurrection claim that there is, that it's historical, brings up that the witnesses,
As a
specifically the
supporting argument.
apostles,
As a supporting argument for their belief in the resurrection.
I'm not saying that they don't use it to support the resurrection. I'm saying that is the historical focal point of resurrection evidence.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case, but okay, that's fine. I'll
Really?
I'll let you guide that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, then what do you think is the focal point of resurrection evidence?
That the tomb is empty on the
If
third
not
day,
if not the witnesses of the empty tomb.
it's not, you're confusing things.
So you're
Now you
saying
switched
that-
it to
so you're
their
saying-
witness. Now you switched it to the witnesses at the empty tomb. Earlier you were talking about the martyrdom. Those are very different things.
No, I'm saying that the martyrdom, that is, they were witnesses of the empty tomb. Obviously, they were the ones that were at the empty tomb. Well, I'm talking about the apostles. Obviously, those were the people that were at the empty tomb.
Yeah, but when the apostles went around preaching the stuff, what did they say? Believe because we've died for this?
No.
So what were they saying?
Well, obviously, they wouldn't say believe me because we've died for this. They didn't die.
Correct, and that's what I'm saying. So let's take it for what the apostles were arguing.
Oh, you're saying why do they believe this?
Well, they believe it because
Why
they've
do they
witnessed
believe-
it.
Okay, they've witnessed it.
Yeah, or they claim. Let's just say, if I want to be generous there. What I'm saying is, on our side, like when we're looking at it, clearly we're not there to witness it and all that. Then we're looking at some options that historically would be present in front of us. So the tomb is empty on the third day, right?
Okay.
So there's an empty tomb. Okay, what would be the reasons why the tomb would be empty?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Why would the tomb be empty?
Let's assume let's not assume the resurrection account, right? Let's not assume that he came back from the dead. What would be the reasons why there would be an empty tomb on the third day?
I don't know.
Well, we have a limited amount. It's not an infinite amount of things. You can take some guesses.
Well, you then have to say, okay, he was put in a tomb. Well, we don't know exactly what tomb he was put in.
Except that the New Testament authors are very meticulous about naming which tomb he's put into.
No, I'm saying the people that, I'm talking about people today. I'm not talking about the people then.
Okay.
I'm talking about we personally don't know what tomb he was put in.
did the contemporaries know which tomb he was put in?
I'm sure they did.
And did the contemporaries who were against Jesus and his message and his disciples know which tomb he was put in?
I'm sure they did.
Okay. So why couldn't they go and check and see if he resurrected or not?
No, I'm not saying that they didn't.
Okay.
I'm saying, you're saying, why would it be empty? Well, I'm saying, what's the point of that question? Because we don't know. Only they would know. They were there at that moment,
Correct.
at that event, they were present at that event. Only they would know. We're not witnesses to that. So I can't. Why would it be empty? I don't know. There's no definitive answer I can give to that question.
Yeah. I think I understand what you're saying, but okay. So the disciples go around saying he's resurrected from the dead.
Yes.
He came back. Now the opponents and everybody knows which tomb he's in, right? So they can go and bring out the body of Jesus and present it to everyone and say, look, he hasn't come back from the dead.
Okay.
But they didn't.
You're saying that they did go to the tomb and see that it was empty?
Well, what's the original thing they come up with is that the body has been stolen. That's the opponents of Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So the body has been stolen is the first theory as to why the tomb is empty.
And you're saying that's the wrong theory?
Well, yes, I'm saying that theory doesn't actually answer the questions.
Of what questions?
The empty tomb questions. Why the tomb is empty.
So you're saying that the stolen body theory is not
it's not sufficient as an answer.
It's not sufficient. Is not sufficient of an answer to why it was empty?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. Because if that's not sufficient enough, then the more sufficient answer would be he rose from the dead and rolled the stone away from the tomb and disappeared. You're saying that's the more sufficient answer?
Well, yeah, before we get to that, I think there's a couple of other theories that you might want to consider, but sure.
But I'm saying, like, you understand where I'm going with this. Like, you're saying that's the more sufficient answer?
Yes.
And you can understand why people would have a problem with that.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely understand why people would have a problem with it, because they don't have a theistic worldview.
All right. Okay.
People would have a problem with it because they don't have a theistic worldview.
And you have to have a theistic worldview in order to believe that that's a sufficient answer?
Well, yeah, absolutely, because if you have a theistic worldview, then you think that God brought the universe into existence from nothing. I don't think that's an issue for God to bring someone back from the dead and roll a rock away.
Why not have a scientific worldview?
What do you mean? How is it? That is a scientific worldview.
A theist worldview is a scientific worldview?
Yeah.
How so?
I don't understand what you mean by like that. It's against science somehow.
To believe that a man rose from the dead?
No, to believe that God has the ability to suspend the laws of physics.
Okay, now that's different. That's different.
Yeah, because God's the one actively doing these things.
Okay, well that's different.
But that's the Christian claim.
But that's not the theist claim.
That is the theist claim.
The theist claim is the Christian claim?
Yeah, every Christian is a theist by definition.
But not every theist is a Christian.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so you understand the problem.
Yeah, but every theist, but check this out. Every theist believes and thinks that God has the power sufficient enough to bring the universe into existence from nothing.
Right. But
Theists
to
don't
say
have
that
an
God.
issue but theists don't have an issue with miracles.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm saying that I'm saying that this particular scenario that you're speaking of, the
Yeah.
resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth, you're saying that that is the sufficient answer for the theists.
Well, yeah, because
But
all
I'm saying,
this is why I said there's other theories you got to consider and see whether any one of them actually have a explanation that's worthy other than the one that I've brought up. So the stolen body one has many problems with it, considering that the same people that are claiming the body was stolen were individuals that had asked the Roman governor to put guards in front of the tomb.
yes.
And now we're talking about guards that would be overpowered, and the body stolen, and then the disciples running around and saying he physically came back from the dead, which I think there's actually a better alternative lie. If they were so bent on giving a lie, they'd be a way better lie to come up with. That would be a lie that nobody could defeat. If their
You're saying
motivation is lying.
that can't be defeated?
No, I just think there's a way better lie and way less hassle to come up with that nobody can defeat.
Such as what?
Such as that Jesus came back from the dead spiritually.
Okay,
Not physically.
but you can understand why they would have a problem with that.
Who would have a problem with that?
Regular, normal people.
Why?
Because, okay, let's look at it through this way. God spiritually rose this man who was also God from the dead, or the disciples stole his body.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the conclusion.
Which one sounds more credible?
I think you got the options mixed up, but the question's not. I'm saying if the people, remember, the disciples at this point, according to the theory that they stole the body, was they were involved in a conspiracy to steal the body, present the data as he actually rose from the dead, and then play it off as such. So they're in the lie, right?
They're in the lie, such as what?
That they stole the body themselves.
They're in the lie. Well, okay,
They would have to be the ones that are doing the stealing the body. And then they come up with this elaborate scheme.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
Let's just deal with a little bit of human psychology here. Do people come up with lies, try to convince a bunch of people to their own detriment or to their own like success, and they're going to gain something out of it?
To gain, yeah.
Yeah, well, clearly they didn't.
They didn't?
They made themselves enemies of everybody in their community by this claim.
Okay.
So that's important, that the motivational aspect of that's not there. The other thing I'm adding on to this is by saying there's a better lie they could have come up with, which is that he didn't resurrect
you
physically.
can believe that you can believe that they could come up with a better lie, okay.
No, I'm saying it's reasonable to come up with a better lie. If you're going to be in the lying business, you can always come up with a better lie.
Well, I mean, if you look at it like that they were lying, well, okay, yeah, they could have come up with a better lie, okay.
Yeah, but that's a counter argument to that they stole the body, which is a more complex lie than the lie I'm projecting that they could have come up with.
So you're saying that they could have come up with a better lie, and that's the lesser argument?
No, I don't know what you mean by lesser argument.
I mean, well, you said that the more complex argument is that he rose from the dead.
Well, complex by meaning that it has a lot of parts, like hiding, like stealing a body, and then convincing yourself of this lie, and then going around and preaching it to the world as though it's true. How familiar are you with Jehovah's Witnesses?
With Joel's Witnesses?
Jehovah's Witnesses, yeah.
Oh, Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh, I have the privilege of never meeting one.
Okay, so the Jehovah's Witnesses have in their theology this idea that they actually predicted the end of the world would come in 1914. Okay, they said Jesus is going to come back, the world's going to end in 1914, which very clearly it hasn't, right? Do you know?
Well, obviously not.
Yeah. Do you know what their counter to that was? Like instead of coming out and saying we lied, or we lied, or we were sorry, not that we lied. That they could have come out and said they were wrong, but they didn't. They doubled down on it. They doubled down by saying no. Jesus came back spiritually, and nobody can see it, but he really came back.
Their rebuttal to why the world didn't end in 1914 was Jesus came back from the dead and no one saw it?
No, not came back from the dead. He came back a second
came
time
back spiritually and no one saw it?
Correct. Now, every Jehovah's Witness on the planet believes this.
Okay.
Right? It's an argument you cannot defeat.
Okay.
Like you realize how you can't defeat it, right?
Well, you can.
How?
Because you would have to then question those people that said that he spiritually rose from the dead and then somehow connect that to the world was going to end in 1914, which there's no correlation. I think that's much more ridiculous.
Have you heard about the pink elephant in the lobby argument?
I'm sorry. No, I have not.
Okay, so let me run it by you, okay? So suppose you and I are traveling somewhere and I come to the room that we're staying in and I say, Dwayne, you won't believe what just happened. I was in the lobby, I was coming up to the room and there was a pink elephant sitting on his laptop just typing away. And you go, no way. There's absolutely no way that happened. And I go, no, man, like seriously, if you want to go downstairs, we can go look at the pink elephant working on his laptop. And you go, cool, let's go downstairs. So we both go downstairs. What are the options going to be?
Yeah, well, you're saying that the options are either there is no pink elephant or there is actually a pink elephant?
Sorry there. One second, sir. I'm getting a call. So, okay, option one. You see a pink elephant down there. And I'm right. You go, oh, Arthur, you're right. There's a pink elephant down here, right? So
Okay.
Option two. You don't see a pink elephant down there. You go, Arthur, you're wrong. And I tell you, no. You're not one of those special people that sees this invisible pink elephant. I'm sorry for you, but me and a special sort of folks can see this pink elephant. You're kind of outside of the group. So there's no way you can defeat me on that. Because every time you say there isn't one, I'm going to tell you you're not a part of the select group of people. Okay? Now, or you could say...
that's a faulty argument.
No, how's it a faulty argument? It's my experience... And I believe I'm one of the select people that can see the pink elephant.
To say that you are the select people, then means that there has to be a select people.
Correct.
Well, now that's going into a whole other thing. It's not even on the pink elephant anymore. It's onto who are the select people that can only see the pink elephant.
Correct. As far as I know right now, I'm the only one. So I'm looking for others that would be just like me.
Okay.
And you don't seem like you're one of them.
Right. So then you have to go out and find other people that can see said pink elephant.
Correct. Which again doesn't mean...
So you can understand why that's faulty, right?
What I'm saying is no, because you haven't defeated the argument.
Well, it's now on them to now find another person that can see said pink elephant.
Yeah, not necessarily, because I could search the whole world and say I didn't find anyone, so maybe I'm the only special one that can see it.
Okay, well that's sad, but
Well,
that's still a faulty argument.
yeah, regardless, who cares if it's sad or not? It's beyond the point. The point is the disciples could have come up with an argument like that. Okay, if they're in this conspiratorial thinking, as the argument suggests too, that the body was stolen, they're thinking about a conspiracy, how to get their way about these things. They already have a group of people. So it'd be a lot easier than the individual, considering me and you in the lobby. The disciples already have a group of people who can say, yes, we all saw him spiritually raised from the dead. And there's a group of us, and since we're his disciples, we're the special ones that he's revealed himself to. And so therefore, he's resurrected. My point there is, at that point, the body in the tomb would become meaningless. But the Christian claim is a lot more difficult than that. That's what I meant by complex.
Well, the empty tomb isn't meaningless because it's the last place where he was seen.
No, it's meaningless to the argument they would come up with. So if they say because if they say he spiritually rose, it would be meaningless whether they found a physical body or not.
But they didn't believe he was spiritually rose.
Correct.
Okay, then how does that help your argument?
That's the point. I don't know why. I've never really had a hard time someone understanding this argument. So, in the sense of that, if they're in a conspiratorial mood, they could have come up with a better lie.
Okay.
But they chose a more difficult thing to prove, which is a body being present in the tomb. And the counter argument is that the body was stolen, but all the facts are against a body being stolen, considering the guards there, considering that it's owned by a wealthy man that everybody knows, considering that they would not have been able to overpower Roman military units who would have been way better armed.
I'm not saying that they didn't believe this. I'm not saying that they're lying. I think that they really believe that he came from the dead. I really believe that they saw an empty tomb, and they honestly believed that he rose from the dead.
So the disciples show up. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so let's take that. That's the theory we'll work with. So the disciples show up to a tomb, according to your theory, and the tomb is empty. How is it empty?
Because there was no body inside of it.
Nobody put the body there?
No, someone put the body there.
So what happened to the body?
The body's gone.
You got to give some reasons. You can't just assume things to be the case.
Well, again, we have to go into, I was not there.
Well,
so
yeah,
who am I to say,
like okay. So Dwayne, do you believe any historical thing that's ever happened?
No. Well, we can't go into that.
Of course we can.
There's multiple sources for multiple things. But there's these
that's not
12.
True. That is not
and
true.
Then
that there's multiple sources.
There's the supposed 500.
Hang on. That is not true that all historical sources have multiple witnesses. That's just plainly false.
I didn't say that either.
Okay.
I didn't say that either.
You and I weren't there at any previous historical point before we were born. And there's many of them that you think, I would assume, to be the case and true.
Okay, but did one of them involve a man rising from the dead? No, it did not.
Regardless, it doesn't matter.
I think that really does matter.
It could be Joe walk down the street. If you weren't there, you don't know what the data on the matter is. If the claim is Joe walked down the street in the year 1732 and you weren't there, how are you going to verify it?
I would then have to talk to people that I mean, I would then have to go to sources that claim that they saw Joe walk down the street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, but okay,
And
I
what are the
understand what
sources
you're trying
telling
to
us?
say.
What are the
I
sources telling
understand
us?
what you're trying to say, but none of them said Joe rose from the dead.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
No, it doesn't. The
because
only difference
one
here,
is
and
more
here's
likely than
and,
the other.
and
One
here's
never happened
okay.
before.
Here's the difference. Well, you already believe there's something that's never happened before that has happened. We've already established that.
Something created from nothing?
Yeah.
So because something created from nothing, that means that very something caused a man to rise from the dead.
No, what I'm saying is, what is a bigger miracle? Something coming from nothing or someone coming back from the dead?
Obviously something coming from nothing.
Okay. So if the being that can bring something from nothing has the ability to do that, why can't the being that same being bring someone back from the dead?
I'm not saying that it can't.
Okay.
I'm saying that you're saying that this is true.
Correct. Yeah, that's a fair
I'm saying,
point.
how do you know that?
Yeah, that's a fair point. But I'm going off of what the data is. We have a certain amount of data in our hands, and we're dealing with that data. But you're espousing data that is non-existent. You're saying, "Oh, the body's gone." Okay, like we have the burial, we have guards there.
I'm going off of I'm going after the historical Jesus.
Okay.
The historical Jesus, he was born, he started a ministry, he was crucified, he died. And then after he died, multiple people worshipped him and said that he rose from the dead. Now, you're going over the Christian view, which is he was born of a virgin, walked on water, did multiple miracles, claimed to be the king of Jesus, and then crucified, and then came from the dead
By the
3
way,
days later.
when did the historical Jesus become a thing?
When did Jesus become an historical figure?
When did this whole your view of what you're calling the historical Jesus, was that a view everybody believed in throughout history? Or was that a view that was developed in the 1900s and they called it the historical Jesus?
Okay, well,
see the problem
you're going into why the historical Jesus became a thing in the 1900s.
Look,
but then you went into
Jesus seminar
did
people.
Everyone have this view on Jesus? Well, obviously
Dwayne.
not. No, because you kind of did a illogical thing right there. You said, well, did everyone have this view on Jesus? Well, obviously not. Well, okay, then was this something that came up in the 1900s? Well, this is a false dichotomy here. Obviously,
no, because the idea of the historical Jesus. But hang on, what you said, Dwayne, was that you pitted against the Christian view of Jesus versus the historical Jesus. The only reason those people deny all the things that are in the historical Jesus, and you can go look at all the Jesus seminar guys and all the stuff they believe, is because they don't believe supernatural things happen. They go into the study already not believing that any of these things are possible. So of course their findings are going to deny those things.
Okay, they're
not as open-minded as some people. Well, they're not as open-minded as they assume they think they are, or they present themselves to be. And the way folks present them as though they're these historically, objective individuals is just complete nonsense.
Okay, that's
go read their writings.
That's I'm not saying quoting. That there's nothing wrong with that.
There's everything wrong with that.
I'm saying that. Okay. I'm not.
My
saying
point is, my view is the historical view. From the very beginning, I know what your view is. People have held to my view, not the other view. Does that make sense? The Christian view is the historical view of Jesus.
I know what Christians believe, sir.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying, okay, but the current view that you hold is because of multiple books and letters that came out thousands of years ago from people who followed this person. So you have a biased view.
I have a biased view that Peter, who was a disciple of Jesus, wrote stuff down and said that this is the case?
No, you're taking everything he said to be true because he knew this person. Well, okay, you have a biased view because you're only taking things to account that are from a person who was already close with Jesus. So, of course, he's going to endorse this. It's a biased view. Whether or not he really believed it or not, that's a different topic. But you believe this because you listen to Peter, you listen to Matthew, you listen to Mark, and so on and so on.
Mm-hmm.
People who followed Jesus.
People who followed Jesus, and
You don't think
what?
that's a problem? You don't think that?
No, because I think
the entire
they,
worldview that you based on is
because
from
very
people
clearly they disagree
that
with
were
Jesus.
close with him.
No, because they disagree with Jesus. They ran away when he's died. Jesus talks about him going to die, and Peter says, "No, you're not." There's quite a bit of internal evidence there that the disciples aren't in the full mission of Jesus going and dying for the sins of the world. They don't even understand most of it. The text of the Bible is very clear about this, that there's many, many things that the disciples themselves don't understand. As a matter of fact, the anticipation of the disciples as to when these things will come to be, which is the kingdom of God will fully come, is that it would happen in within kind of when Jesus comes back from the dead. You see this in the book of Acts. Even post-resurrection, they have a hard time understanding what this is going to actually look like. So the idea that, oh no, they're friends with Jesus, they're followers of Jesus, of course they were like in on this whole plot.
Not only were they friends of Jesus, but they had prophecies that Jesus was spewing to that claim that this is his coming. So then they have not only do they have
their prophecies
Jesus
were
saying to them, I have prophecies that this is me. But now they have an entire book, an entire the Old Testament to go, oh, yeah, look, he's right there. Oh, he's right there too.
But Dwayne,
he's right there too.
Do you realize that all the prophecies, all the stuff they had anticipated about the Messiah, Jesus went against whatever their anticipations of the Messiah was and what he was going to do. It was contrary to their anticipations.
Okay, there were some people that had false anticipation. Okay.
No. It's not that they had false. That's what the view of the Messiah was. It's not some people. That was the view.
Well, now we're going into, was the prophecy clear?
No, we're not. We're not. What you're saying, the counter argument I'm using against you on this is that you're saying, oh, they would have been convinced of this stuff. Of course they would have been with him and all this stuff. I'm saying, no, it's as a matter of fact, contrary to that. This is when you establish the data that we have in front of us, that we're working with. Your arguments fall apart. These guys aren't enthusiastic about any of this stuff.
I'm sorry?
They are not enthusiastic about any of it.
They weren't?
They were absolutely not. Not until they witnessed Jesus themselves, resurrected and talking to them, did they have the guts to get up and say this in front of people. They're absolutely disheartened and hiding away and cowards.
Yes, because they don't think that a man can be rose from the dead. And then after said thing happens, of course they're going to be, okay, yeah, okay, I saw it, I was there. Yeah, I'm confident.
Let's run your theory down a little bit, okay? They show up to the tomb, and there's no body there.
Yes.
Okay, what about the future experiences of Jesus they have?
What do you mean?
How does your view answer for that?
What do you mean future experience? Are you talking about Revelation? Are you talking about when Jesus came to John from a dream?
No. There's multiple places in the Gospels where the disciples are gathered together and Jesus appears to them and speaks to them. Multiple times.
After the resurrection?
Yes.
Well, yeah. Okay. He physically rose from the dead and was with them for 50 days and talked to 500 witnesses. Okay. Are you saying that you think that then proves it?
No, I want to know how your view answers those experiences.
No, I think they genuinely believed
Okay,
that
did they
they saw the
hallucinate?
risen Jesus.
Did they
hallucinate
hallucinate?
that it
I mean,
happened?
clearly it would only have to be hallucinations.
It would
Like
only have
when
to
they're
be
in the upper
No,
room.
I
Yeah,
don't think
when
it
they're
would
in the
only
upper
have to be an
room.
hallucination.
Okay, they're in the upper room without Thomas. Jesus appears to them and talks to them. There's a group of them. You got to give an explanation for that according to your theory. They are with Thomas on the following occasion. Right? There's the one where they're on the beach.
I don't think that I don't think the problem is did they I mean they hold their beliefs and their faith on this risen man. I think it really holds more on you.
No. It holds on me because
It
I
holds
think
on the
their
people
experiences
that
are
didn't
true.
see him.
No, it holds on me because I think their experiences are true.
Okay, you can believe whatever you want to believe. But I'm saying that it holds on more to you that this thing really happened and you hold your entire worldview on it. I mean, blessed is he who has not seen me
Okay.
and still has faith. So it's on you
It's on me to do what?
to not see it,
Uh-huh.
to believe these men 100%, and hold your entire
Well, I don't think
worldview on it.
I don't think you have to believe something 100% in order to believe it, but okay.
You don't believe it 100%?
No, I don't think that beliefs need to be 100% sure for you to think it's true.
No, to hold your worldview on it.
Yeah, I don't think you need to be 100% sure in order for something to be true.
You don't think you have to be 100% sure to hold your worldview on it?
No. Neither do you, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
And I don't either?
No. Like, you can't prove to me 100% sure that you exist.
Oh my God. What does that mean?
I'm glad that your cry in your heart says, "Oh my God!" But okay,
because
I'm just saying you can't prove.
because we're going into another thing here. We're talking about why you believe it, and now you're going into, well, how do you know you exist?
No,
we're going into a different thing now.
You said that I would have to be 100% sure. I just don't think there are many things in life that you can be 100% sure about, which is the proper philosophical understanding of.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. No, I'm not saying that you can't have things in your life that you're not 100% sure about. I'm saying if you are holding your worldview on this, it is on you to say, okay, this is the right view.
Well, yeah. It's completely justified in my mind. I mean, I don't need to justify it to you, frankly speaking.
You don't have to justify it to me?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, but if I don't believe it, I'm separated from God for all eternity, aren't
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, but what I believe internally, I don't need to justify to anybody else.
Okay, yeah, you can justify it to yourself. Okay. And you can decide to not justify it to anybody. Okay, that's your choice.
Mm-hmm.
But then to say, okay, it's my worldview and it's the right worldview. Okay, well, then you have to then justify it. Don't you then have to justify it for other people to go, you know what? Yeah, maybe that is the right worldview.
But you know, when we're justifying it, here's the interesting thing. As we were doing the justification earlier, you immediately said, oh, no, we're not talking about them and what they believed and what happened to them. We're talking about you. When my justification internally, right, focuses on the justification of the original folks that experienced these things. But you want to bypass them and throw the burden of proof on me. No.
I'm saying you're right. Okay, that is what you're doing. But you can understand why that's a problem.
No, explain it to me. How is it a problem?
I just said it. You then have to prove to people, to justify it to people, to go, yeah, that's the right worldview.
Correct. When I was doing that to you, you completely avoided the justification of the internal justification for the original folks that witnessed this.
No, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I'm not saying that you're wrong for believing this. I'm saying, okay, you believe this. This is your worldview. You justify it to yourself. Okay, but for people to then go, you know what? I got a problem with that. I don't believe that. But I do. I believe it. Okay, well, why? Well, because 2,000 years ago, there was people that said that they saw this man. He rose from the dead. Okay, you understand why that's a problem.
No, I don't understand what that's a problem. Because if I were to go with your justification and your understanding of things, we would deny most of world history.
Okay, but
Because
most
it's all
of
people
world
witnessing
history
things.
doesn't say that people rose from the dead.
It doesn't matter what the claims are.
It does matter because
It
nothing
doesn't.
else like this happened.
Dwayne,
And
look,
if you
the
do
idea-
believe in
look,
Christianity,
I
this
don't
is
know
the
which-
only time this has happened.
I don't know which guys you've listened to with the whole extraordinary evidence needs extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence. It doesn't.
I'm not looking for extraordinary evidence.
You are.
I'm just looking for evidence.
Yeah, but at the same time denying it because people witnessed it. Because the claim is he came back from the dead. If people witnessed him come back from the dead and they wrote it down, that's the evidence. But you're going to deny that evidence because they're saying somebody came back from the dead, and that doesn't happen usually, you know? Do you know why that would be a problem?
Were the 500 people the people that were pushing this mainly? No, it was 12 men. So, okay.
Wait,
If
what?
those 500 people came out because Jesus resurrected to 500, he showed himself to 500 people. Don't you remember that Paul said that?
No, I know. I just don't know what did you just say? Did the 500 people know that it was 12 men pushing this?
No, they did. They did know that. No, I'm saying if those 500 people that Paul said he showed himself to these 500 people, 500 people saw a man that was dead 3 days ago, rose from the dead.
Okay.
Why don't we see more of that? Why is it just in Acts? Okay, yeah, Jesus showed himself to 500 people. Okay, anyway. No. He just showed himself to 500 people. But yet he showed himself to 12 men, and I'm supposed to believe by worldview just on that? No, let's go back to the 500 people.
Bro, what are you saying? Okay, he showed himself to 500 people.
Yes, and
you're
saw
saying why
this
doesn't that
man
happen
was
more
dead
often?
3 days ago. No, I'm saying, why is there not more of that?
More of what?
Why do we not hear more? Why do we not hear more of that? Okay, 500 people saw this man, Jesus of Nazareth, rose from the dead. They saw him risen from the dead. No, we don't see that. We see, okay, there was this man, Jesus in Nazareth. He was crucified under Pontius Pilate. That's what we see in historic, and what we see in Josephus. That's what we see in historical evidence. We don't see
that you keep saying. Why don't we see more of that? I want to know what your reference there is.
Jesus showing himself to 500 people.
But he did.
According to Acts.
No, according to 1 Corinthians. Chapter 15 and Paul, not according to Acts.
Excuse me, according to Paul. According to Paul.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just having a hard time understanding.
Are you seriously avoiding me having a problem with that?
I'm having an issue with you saying, why don't we see more of that? In what sense? You want writings from the 500 people with their signatures on the bottom?
No, I'm saying... I mean, I'm not saying that wouldn't help.
No, it wouldn't, because you would say they were all in a conspiracy together.
I'm saying, why wouldn't people who said that why didn't 500 people who said that they saw the risen Jesus, that's a pretty big event, isn't it?
They did. They went around preaching the gospel.
I'm not saying they didn't.
That's how Christianity grew.
Please stop avoiding. I'm being honest with you. Please be honest with me.
I'm not avoiding anything.
This is a big event, right?
Okay.
Why do we only see this when Paul talks about it?
You mean like why don't the rest of the disciples mention it?
Or anyone else for that matter?
Because Paul mentioned it?
Oh, okay, so Paul mentioned
do you realize when
Therefore,
1
that's
Corinthians is
true.
written? Hang on. Do you
Therefore,
realize?
I'm going to
this
build
is
my entire worldview
No,
on
what
that.
this tells me is that you're unaware of actually the New Testament and their writings and when they were written. That's what that tells me. But okay, do you know when 1 Corinthians was written?
I know 1 Corinthians is one of the earliest documents we have of Christianity.
So it's probably written in 55 AD.
Okay.
There's two other letters that come before 1 Corinthians that are earlier. Okay?
Okay.
That's the letter of James and maybe 1 Thessalonians.
Okay.
So if Paul has written something that is authoritative and is circulating in the church, and people are aware of this, why would they keep just saying, by the way, 500 people? Like
because a man rose from the dead and showed himself.
And they've been talking about it, and they've been talking about it and preaching it, and they end up writing about it. Like even when you see the life of Jesus in regards to the New Testament canon, it's a tiny portion.
Exactly.
So you think they should just talk about
that big event is such a tiny portion, and then you want me to build my entire worldview on that?
No, I want you to know your worldview is built on a lot beyond that. Not just that. But that would be foundational to it.
But why wouldn't I build it on that? A man rose from the dead to 500
and therefore
people.
Christianity is true.
Why wouldn't I wrote it?
Well, you absolutely should, because a man rose from the dead and Christianity is true. And so your worldview becomes a worldview of Christianity.
But you're right. No, you're right. But what you said, that's such a tiny portion. People don't build their worldview on that. But I'm saying that's such a big event. That is such a tiny portion. That's the exact point. Why don't people build their worldview on that? People should be building their worldview on a man rose from the dead and showed himself to 500 people.
Who preached the gospel.
No one else talked about that.
But who preached the gospel, and the rest of the New Testament gets developed out of the question these individuals have, which leads to the worldview development and worldview formation.
Okay.
That's how you develop it.
I'm not saying that didn't go into development.
Most of the New Testament letters are questions and concerns that come up. That's why we call them occasional letters.
I'm not saying that it didn't
based
develop.
On an occasion.
I'm not saying that it didn't develop.
It's just arbitrary for you to saying, if we had 3 more people mention this or 8 more people mention this, somehow that would make a difference in your belief system. It wouldn't.
No. Not 8 more people.
Even if all 500 of them wrote it down, you still wouldn't. You would still have issues with it.
Not just those 500.
But you would still have issues. No, don't evade it. Now you're avoiding stuff. If all 500 of those people...
If those 500 people, all separate accounts, okay, yeah, I was there, I saw him. We were all there. And to not only have that, but to then have others talk about it. Okay, yes, there was this man, Jesus of Nazareth. He was crucified under Pontius Pilate. And then he rose himself from the dead and then showed himself to 500 people. Okay, so other people are saying that. And also there's these 500 people. Okay, that's enough evidence for me.
If that's the case, the expansion of Christianity...
Hang on, let me finish my thought. But that's not what we have.
Let me finish
But that's not what we have.
Okay, I understand that's not what we have. Because you're coming up with an arbitrary thing that doesn't exist. And saying, if we did, I would believe it.
What doesn't exist?
And the 500 people writing the stuff down you just mentioned.
What?
You realize you just came up with an arbitrary system of if all the 500 people wrote everything down, then I would be like, oh, yeah, we got to pay attention to this. But clearly doesn't exist because those 500 people haven't written everything down.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. If you're sincere and honest in that, the mere
so you're saying
expansion,
so you're saying that didn't happen, and even if it did happen, you would still have problems with it?
No, I'm saying you would. I don't have problems with it. I don't have problems in the current form.
Well, I know obviously you don't.
Yeah, you would have problems
Well,
with
obviously
it.
you don't.
Yeah, you'd say, oh, we need 1,000 people.
Well, no. I'm not saying that we shouldn't investigate it further. That's not what I'm saying either. If that was true, I think we should still investigate it further. That's not what I'm saying either. Just like how you investigate Christianity further.
Okay.
I'm not saying that, okay, I'm going to believe this thing. I'm going to build my entire worldview on this thing if this thing happened. No, obviously I'm still going to investigate it further.
Okay.
But to say whether or not I'm going to believe it or not.
Well, look, it's by
obviously
look. There's
if it
absolutely
happened,
nothing. Look, I don't think any Christian is sitting there. Well, maybe some are, but in regards to people actually concerned with this, I don't think we're sitting there and saying, "Oh no, people shouldn't investigate this." I mean, you absolutely should, and you are. I mean, that's great. Continue to do so.
right, but that's not what you said.
What did I say?
You said you would still have problems with this. And I'm saying,
No.
okay, yeah, I would still investigate this.
Yeah.
Is that a problem?
No,
that I investigate this further?
No, it's not a problem that you'd investigate this. But you said,
okay, then why would you say that as a way of disproving my point?
Because you came up with an arbitrary system that you demanded that all 500 people write everything down.
No, you did.
No, I didn't.
I didn't say. Okay, we're going to go back on the live,
maybe,
and I want to see where I said I want all 500 people to write their accounts down. I never said that. Okay. You said that.
Okay. You have an issue that the accounts that we have in the Gospels are not enough. More people should have written that down.
Yes.
Am I right? Okay. How many would be more? If 8 people wrote it down,
would be more?
Or 15 people wrote it down?
I just want one. Why can I just have one?
What you want one? You have 4 that mention the resurrection.
No, I don't. No, I'm not talking about that. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Jesus showing himself to 500 people. I just want one other source that says that.
4 but people were there.
Paul. According to Paul.
Do you realize when Paul's talking about this, he's excluding himself. He wasn't a part of the 500. Okay? But in those 500 are included the disciples who wrote the Gospels down.
Okay, they can be there too.
So there's 4. You're asking for one. I gave you 4.
Did they mention Jesus showed himself to 500 people, sir?
No, they don't need to.
They do need to.
If they witnessed the resurrection, if Jesus appeared to them multiple times, on multiple occasions,
if they saw Jesus, they would then say, okay, no one's going to believe me because I just saw a man rose from the dead. How can I have people believe me?
Well, why are you assuming nobody's going to believe them?
No one's going to believe them, sir.
But did people believe them?
According to Paul, 500 people saw him.
According to the historical data, did no one believe the disciples when they went around preaching that Jesus rose from the dead? Yes,
people believed him.
Of course they did.
According to Paul, 500 people saw him. So they didn't have to believe what the disciples said. They already saw him physically.
Put Paul aside. The book of Acts.
We can't put Paul aside.
We can't
put Paul aside.
Paul comes later in the story.
If we put Paul aside, then what else do we have?
Dwayne, Paul comes later in the story. Pre-Paul, before Paul, Paul's one of the unbelievers. He himself becomes a believer.
Yeah, because he was there.
500. He was not a part of the 500. Because he was where?
You're saying that he wasn't part of the 500?
He wasn't. Who taught you this?
Okay, so
brother, do you know? Okay, so you're a very knowledgeable guy. You know your stuff. But then like you make a mistake like that, then I'm like, okay, do you really know your stuff? It seems to me you know your stuff. Paul is persecuting the church. He's not a part of the 500. The 500 people that Paul references are a part of the original group of people who are followers of Jesus. Before Paul becomes a Christian, later on in the book of Acts, what is it? Chapter 9, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Okay, all right.
The stoning of Stephen happens in chapter 7.
I understand what you're saying. Okay, he wasn't part of the 500. Okay. He got this story from the people that were there.
Yes, he did.
I'm going to put this to where you can understand it. Okay. He got this story from the disciples, from the people that were there. This man who wasn't there decided to put it in his letter, but none of the people that were there decided to put it in theirs?
So, let me actually pull up some scripture here.
I think that's even worse. That's even worse.
No,
so this guy that wasn't even there got this story from the people that were there?
You just developed an argument that you think is an argument, but it's really not.
No. That's not a developed argument.
It's not.
That's in itself even worse.
Okay, the individuals
I agree. Okay, I was mistaken. I did put Paul in that 500. Okay, I was mistaken. Because I think that's an Occam's razor that I did. That's even worse.
Wait, how is it Occam's razor? Explain that to me.
I try to put the more logical argument in there, but no, that's not the true argument. The true argument is he wasn't even there. He got this story from the disciples.
And?
Okay, you can say, okay, no, that has historical evidence. There's a good reason to believe that. I'm saying, okay, that's a problem.
Okay, you're
saying that's not a problem?
You said you wanted one other person other than Paul, because you incorrectly assumed Paul was a part of the 500. You wanted one other person to mention that Jesus appeared to them post-resurrection, right?
Yeah.
Those are your own words.
Yeah.
I told you there are 4 that witnessed Jesus post-resurrection that mention him.
Okay.
You asked for one. I'm saying you the 4 Gospels are them, but that's not good enough.
Okay.
And now you're switching. You're changing goalposts.
No. No one's switching. You're saying that, okay, there's these 4 Gospels. These 4 Gospels were by the people that were there. Even though that's not true.
How's that not true?
Mark was there?
Yes.
Okay, where does it say that John Mark was one of the 500?
Oh, Peter is the one dictating to Mark. And Mark,
Mark was not there.
Look,
Mark was not there.
That's not true.
So we have Matthew,
that's a big guess because
Luke,
there's a lot of scholars.
John.
Well, stop talking. There's quite a bit of significant data by theologians that John Mark is a young disciple of, let's say follower, not disciple because that'll confuse people. Follower of Jesus. As a matter of fact, quite a bit of people think that the Last Supper is held at John Mark's house. And so you can reasonably suggest that Mark would have been a part of that group. As a matter of fact, some people think Mark is the guy that runs away when Jesus is arrested, whose clothing gets ripped off and runs away. So to say that John Mark wasn't there, X, Y, and Z. Now, Peter is, the earliest data we have is that Peter is the one that is dictating the Gospel of Mark to be written down.
Okay.
So even if I give you Mark, I say, okay, the guy who's dictating the whole thing is Peter, so Peter's there.
Okay.
Matthew's there. He's a disciple. John's a disciple. He's there.
Okay, Matthew was there. Okay.
Luke
Matthew was
interviewed
there.
everybody
John
else and
was
wrote
there.
it down.
Luke Are you saying that Luke wasn't there or was
Luke
there?
was not there. Luke interviewed everybody
Okay.
else.
Luke wasn't there. Okay. So we have Matthew and John. And I guess we can add Mark because that's basically Peter's gospel. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll add Mark, Matthew, and John.
And
Okay,
if
so
you
we
take
have three
Luke,
people.
and if you take Luke, who's interviewing multiple sources for his gospel, then you get more than one.
Exactly. We have a guy that is claiming to have interviewed witnesses. And none of them say, yeah, he showed up to 500 people.
Who do you think is?
So then we have.
Sorry, how many people do you?
Source
how many people do you?
that was at the lifetime of those witnesses.
Correct. That's what Paul says.
Claim,
yeah.
That didn't claim. Yeah, he showed up to 500 people.
No, Paul
so
specifically
this is leaving
says
Mark as a lone wolf.
Paul specifically says, "Hey, if you guys still have questions, some of these people are still alive. You can go ask them." Clearly, by Paul's time, some of them have died.
Okay.
So he's saying they can go talk to those people. There's many assumptions
some of those
you're
people
making.
Include the disciples? Would some of those people include the disciples?
Yeah, it includes beyond that. I mean, if we look at the book of Acts, we're getting a lot more than the disciples at the ascension of Jesus. You can say at the very least we're looking at 120 people at the ascension of Jesus.
Okay. So there were people at the ascension of Jesus. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so he appeared to 500 people. And then people saw him ascend into the heaven. And there were faces on the clouds.
No, why were the faces on the clouds?
There were faces on the clouds, right?
No.
What were on the clouds?
Nothing. It just says clouds covered them up.
No, there was something on the clouds. Excuse me, let me go check because I'm pretty sure there was something on the clouds when he ascended. But anyway, while I'm looking for that. Okay. So he not only showed himself to 500 people, but he ascended into the sky and the clouds covered him up.
Okay.
Now we have two things. Okay. There were these two guys that are writing their gospels, Matthew and John. Those are the two that were there.
Why is Peter
They're
not
writing their... No, I'm saying that for the gospels that we have.
Okay.
The gospels that we have. Okay, there's two gospels from the men that were there. Matthew and John. And we have nothing else. So you understand why there would be a problem. So no other source says Jesus showed up to 500 people. No other source.
Look, I don't know why you're struggling in the Gospels to find that no other source. Like I could have just told you Paul's the only one that says 500 people saw him. Like Paul's the only one who says he appeared to 500 people. But
yeah.
But Jesus appears to people before whenever that 500 is. Before that, and has conversations with them and eats with them, and those aren't 500 people. They're much smaller in number. Let's just say the ascension has 120 people there.
Oh, there were angels. There were angels as Jesus was ascending. Excuse me, not faces. Angels. They saw angels.
Yeah, it says angels stood by them and said, "Men of Galilee, Why are you standing here looking into the sky?
Okay, so they not only did people see him ascend, but they saw angels and they saw the risen Jesus appear to 500 people. You would understand why I go, okay, I would like to see more.
Who would say that is my question. I'm just saying the original
Who
people.
would say that? Who would go,
Well,
okay, there's this event where he shows up to 500 people. There's this event where he ascends into the sky, and then there's angels.
Okay.
Oh, I want to see more sources of that. You're saying
again,
who would say that?
These would have been individuals that would have already believed that angels appear to people anyways. So this is why I'm saying it's a worldview issue.
Why would they already have to believe it if
because
they
they're all Jews and they believe the Old Testament is true and they believe that angels make appearances.
Okay, but beside that, if they physically see it, they don't have to be a Jew if they physically see it.
No, they don't.
Okay,
but
then
I'm just
why
telling
are you saying
what
they already
but I'm
have
telling
to
you what
believe
the
in
original
angels?
audience is. The original audience is all Jews.
Okay.
They're all contemporaries. They're all religious people.
Okay.
So they believe them.
Okay, yeah.
Not all.
Okay.
But they believe them for various other reasons as well. But what I'm saying is when they start preaching that Jesus has resurrected, right, and they reason with people, if you continue reading the book of Acts, you will see that people become believers without doing what you're doing. Hey, bring all the 500 people. Let's see them. No, yeah, 450.
You're saying that the people that were alive with the disciples?
Yeah, contemporaries.
Okay, people that already believed?
No, people already believed in God, but not Jesus being the Messiah.
Okay, people who already believed in God, that were alive during the disciples, that, okay, don't necessarily need 500 people, but have a lot of witnesses that say that they saw that thing.
Yeah,
okay.
There was 11 guys that stood up and said, at least 11 guys. As a matter of fact, the upper room stuff is 120 who stood up and said these things happened. As a matter of fact, when you read the speech, if you read the speech of Peter and you read the speech of Stephen, they very clearly reference to them, where have you guys been? Have you guys not been in Jerusalem? Did you guys not hear these things have happened?
Okay.
That Jesus, whom you guys crucified. Like, so if you read the book of Acts, you will see Peter saying this. You guys killed Jesus. Because it just happened. Like in the last month and a half.
I'm not saying that they didn't believe it happened.
Correct. And then Peter says, well, God's raised him up from the dead. And Peter says, God's raised him up from the dead. And here are the evidences.
I'm not saying that those people didn't believe it. They may very well have believed it. Okay. He might have very well appeared to 500 people. Well, we only have one account of that, but okay. It's now on you.
It's so arbitrary when say we have one account. If we had two accounts of it, you would say we only have two accounts. That's my problem. Is that it's absolutely arbitrary.
So you're assuming
you can move the goalpost.
That because so you're assuming that if there were more, I still would have rejected it. So that's your argument.
I would say you would. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So your argument is based on an assumption that if there were more, I still would reject it.
If there was two, you would have said I need more than two.
You understand why that's not the best argument.
It's not an argument in the sense that it doesn't have
syllogisms
and a conclusion. It's based on the conversation I've had with you for the last hour and whatever.
Yeah, but it's based on an assumption. And I'm saying,
correct, based on the last the last hour and a half I've talked to you.
If you listen to what I said I just need one more. If you've listened to what I said,
you got two at the very least. You got two, according to your numbers. And I don't even agree with that, but I'll give you that two.
Where?
Two individuals that saw Jesus resurrected from the dead?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the 500. I said, I need is one more. If they've
witnessed him at a different event, why would you need the 500? They witnessed him not only one time, but multiple times in groups of people.
Okay,
according
I'm
to
not
the
saying
Gospels.
I'm not saying that their gospels don't
Bro,
exist.
your argument is from silence, right? And so you're like, oh, there's this thing Paul mentions. Oh, I want someone to mention that same event again. While you know, and this is what I was saying earlier, while you know there isn't one, but you keep asking for it, and then I'm telling you, you have multiple individuals in the Gospels who witnessed Jesus post-resurrection multiple times, and you completely push it aside and you want the 500 thing. That's when you're being disingenuous.
So your point is, okay, you're saying that you want one more of the 500. Why don't you focus more on the 12 that said that they witnessed him from the dead? That's your argument?
Yeah, it's in the Gospels.
Okay. All right, let's say
So
I
why
believe
aren't
it.
those good enough for you?
Because they're close with Jesus.
If one other than Paul would be good enough.
Okay, you just said, why would you have a problem with it?
Yeah.
Those men knew Jesus personally.
Okay.
Therefore, it's bias. So you want me to then say, okay, no, forget about the 500. Let me go on this.
Well, why are you assuming the 500 didn't know Jesus personally?
What do you mean?
Well, why are you assuming the 500 people he appeared to would not have known Jesus personally?
You're saying that there were more than people that there was Jesus' family, and then there was the 12. You're saying that there was more people that knew Jesus personally?
Well, I'm not saying that. The Bible says that there's at least 120 more people that were followers of Jesus, very close followers of Jesus.
People that worship Jesus.
Yeah, and followed him. Absolutely.
How is that knowing him personally?
The same bias you're trying to accuse the
I know
11
my
is what what you would do.
I know my mother. I don't worship her.
What you would do, the same bias you're accusing the disciples of Jesus, the gospel writers, for doing, you would accuse the 500 of if you knew all the data surrounding it.
Okay, what you just missed an opportunity there. You just missed an opportunity there. You could have said, well, Thomas didn't believe it. Well, James didn't believe it.
Or somebody in the comment section
but
said
no,
that.
you didn't say that.
Yeah, I didn't need to. Because I think you would accuse them of the same bias.
But they didn't believe it.
No. It's not that Thomas didn't believe in Jesus. It's that Thomas didn't believe he had resurrected.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Those are very two different things. Because Thomas would have still, according to you,
I
been biased.
I didn't say that they didn't believe in Jesus. I didn't say that they didn't believe in Jesus. We're talking about the resurrection here. I'm talking about the resurrection.
Then James would not have fit the resurrection one.
How so?
Because James's issue with Jesus is pre-death resurrection stuff. It's him being the Messiah. He's got issues with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying your whole argumentation on the bias is going to continue.
He still saw Jesus, and that therefore confirmed. That therefore threw away his doubts.
Okay, your whole assumption with everybody being biased, as though there are people who aren't biased. That's just not true, by the way. That they were biased would continue on to the 500 because those would have been followers of Jesus. As a matter of fact.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Well, you're saying you can't trust them because they're biased.
Knew Jesus personally. I don't care if they knew Jesus personally. I'm saying that their word, those witnesses, their bias. That's the whole focal point of your belief. That's your whole worldview there. Is based on a bias witness.
You realize they're all writing this stuff down after the resurrection and they believe it to be true. And like, you're never going to, like, even for Paul, he's writing these things down after the fact. He believes it to be true, therefore he's writing it down.
Okay.
And so your bias argument would apply to anything, even if every single one of the 500 people wrote something down.
Why are you assuming that I'm applying it to everything?
Because you would have to.
Why would I have to?
Because they would all be believers.
Not if they didn't know Jesus personally.
They would all be believers who would have witnessed this. So therefore, they have a bias, and they would have an interest in you becoming a Christian. You realize
They
that?
wouldn't have an interest in me becoming a Christian
Oh, they
because they
absolutely
just
would.
saw a man rise from the dead.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not articulating my point clearly. Okay.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay. The Gospels. They are, even Mark's, they are about people that knew Jesus personally. These are the people that you started your worldview on. These are people that have biased sources. Now,
Wait,
am I
because they knew
wrong
Jesus personally?
for saying, hold on 1 second. Am I wrong for saying, well, that's kind of weak?
Yeah, you're wrong for saying that's weak, because all historical facts, the best we have is for people who have personal experiences or they know the individual.
What?
Absolutely.
All historical information we have
the
is
best
from
ones you have
personal
is
people?
closest to the source. Absolutely.
No, it's from people that got it from those people that personally knew.
That's not true.
What? So they didn't get it from the people that personally knew? So then where did they get it from?
The people who wrote it down, you just said they're the ones who personally knew him.
Yeah.
And now you're saying they got it from the people that personally knew him?
No. You said the historical information that we get is from people that were personally there.
The best ones, the best ones that we have throughout history would be individuals who knew whomever it is, say George Washington. Like, the best data you're going to gather is going to be from the wife of George Washington.
You're right.
Okay.
And I'm saying, okay,
but
people
would you
that
say, oh, that's biased, we shouldn't trust it?
What do you mean?
Well, if it's George Washington's wife, should we trust it or not?
Well, if there were other people that knew George Washington other than his wife, then I wouldn't have a problem with what his wife said.
Well, yeah, but then the specific things that she would say about him, would you say, oh man, that's biased, we shouldn't trust that? Because that's his wife.
Depends on what she's saying.
And if it contradicts, say, suppose like other people said something like, man, George Washington was such a great general, he never had any fear, and then his wife wrote in a letter, my husband struggles with a great deal of fear to the point of staying up at nights. And all the 15 people are saying something. Would you take his wife's word over it?
No.
Do you take the 15 people that you never had fear?
No, wait, hold on. Okay. So if his wife said he was very fearful. He was very scared. He was scared of war. If she said that, I mean, I would have no problem with that. I would have no problem with believing that.
Why?
I'm not basing my worldview on that.
Yeah, I'm not basing my worldview on any particular thing that might appear in the Gospels. You realize that? I think I mentioned this before, that my worldview is a Christian worldview. It's way beyond that.
Any particular things that might appear in the Gospel, such as
whatever, name it. I don't care. That's not how worldviews are developed.
That's how you're developing yours.
No, my worldview is beyond that. I just told you. That's not how my worldview is developed.
Okay, if you're not basing your worldview on that, then what are you doing?
For example, let me give you an example. Would it be fair if I said that that Dwayne, you are a relativist when it comes to morality?
Would it be? Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Am I a relativist?
No, what if I said you are a relativist?
Okay.
Are you?
What am I supposed to say to that?
I'm saying, would it be fair? I mean, whether it would be yes, it would be fair, or no, it won't be fair.
No, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say that's fair.
Okay, so okay, it wouldn't be fair. So if it's
Because I
not
don't know
fair,
what you're basing that on.
yeah, exactly. And I said, well, because you claimed that you were an agnostic earlier on, and based on a couple of things I know about agnostics, therefore your worldview would have to lead to relativism when it comes to morality. So you wouldn't be fair. That wouldn't be fair, and you would be right in that not being fair. In the same way, when you're looking at specific things in the Bible, and then you think, therefore, my worldview as a Christian, my entire worldview as a Christian, is based off of that one specific thing, whatever it may be. I'm just telling you that the Christian worldview is a lot bigger than that. It's a lot grander than that. It involves a lot more things than what you might specifically see in a gospel or in one of Paul's letters. It encompasses a lot more than that.
Well, this entire thing started on God revealed himself to us through raising a man from the dead.
Correct. And God's revelation is a lot of stuff within Christian theology.
Why wouldn't you base your worldview on that? I'm not
Well, that's the
understanding.
beginning of it. I don't like it's a foundational pillar, but it's not like everything's not included in there. It has many different parts to it.
Well, obviously, there's more to the story of Christianity. Okay, I'm not saying that's not true, but I'm saying that should be.
Should be what?
That should be what you base your focal point on. If you think that's the instance where God is revealing himself to us. I'm not saying that there's more to the story of Christianity. I'm not saying that the Old Testament doesn't exist.
Or the rest of Christian history, in which Christians have done theology and developed arguments for just systems and governments, and the worldview involves a lot more.
Is the rest of Christian history in the Bible?
No.
Okay, so then why would I put my worldview?
Well, because my worldview involves that as a Christian.
Well, that can help you better understand your worldview. Okay. Maybe I'm not understanding your point here.
Yeah,
you're saying that I'm forgetting. I don't acknowledge church history.
No, I didn't say that.
Then what are you saying?
You keep bringing up that you're basing your entire worldview on this. What I'm saying is, no, my worldview is based on a lot of other things.
Okay, maybe it was wrong for me. Maybe it was wrong for me to say that. I don't know what your worldview is based on. I don't know your opinions. I don't know what bias you have. I don't know that. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna apologize for that. That was a wrong thing for me to do.
That's fine. There's no need to apologize. I mean, I'm not offended, but just want to be on the same page with you.
I don't know you. I don't know you personally, and therefore I assumed something that was not true.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I'm going to take that back.
I appreciate that.
Okay, but you do agree that there are some, or maybe a lot of Christians, that worldview is that.
Is what? Sorry.
Is based on that.
Well, I think there are Christians that have ill-formed worldviews. So it's besides that.
So them basing their worldview on the resurrection
Yeah, just because someone's a
They
Christian
should
doesn't
base
mean,
it
look,
on something besides that.
someone could be saved and have a really terrible worldview set up. I know a lot of Christians like that. And I've met a lot of Christians throughout time, the times I've been Christians, that have had extremely unbiblical worldviews. I mean, for, just as an example, I think a Christian who is pro-abortion has an entirely incorrect understanding within their worldview of that specific matter.
Okay, but this very thing, the resurrection, in order for me to not be separated from God and go to heaven, I have to accept that.
Well, yeah. Well, you because your sins need to be forgiven.
Okay, well, if I say to myself, okay, I believe this is true. I've read the Gospels, I've read all the letters, I've read all of the New Testament, I've read the Old Testament. I believe this to be true. Now, do you think I should be basing it on anything more?
Well, look, the way people come to beliefs. I mean, you're talking about epistemology here that I think is important because not everybody
Because I don't
comes
want
to
to.
the
I don't
same
want to
beliefs.
assume anything more of you. I don't want to assume anything more of you. So I'm just gonna figure out what you consider to be okay. That's not the best worldview. That's not the best outlook of Christianity. That's not the best way to be saved.
Yeah,
Because I don't want to assume anything on you.
People come to beliefs in various ways. And not everybody
Right.
comes to the right beliefs in all the same ways. So it would be
Right.
like the answer to that is, I don't know, like it really depends. For all I know, somebody could have a dream and become a Christian and do none of that stuff. As a matter of fact, I know people like that.
Okay.
And then there could be people who spend 15 years of their lives studying through the Bible and scripture and stuff, and then become Christians after that. So it's any one of those things is fine, because not everybody comes to the same beliefs the same exact way.
Okay. But to say I know for sure this is the right one, I'd have to be pretty damn convinced.
Yeah,
I'd have to have some pretty strong evidence.
You could be self-convinced in many different ways. And I've said this before on my streams, which is the justification a person has for themselves is very different for the justification someone else needs or has to have for someone else.
So you're saying that on the way that I'm convinced, that also depends?
Oh yeah, I mean that's just the way knowledge works in your life. There's plenty of things that you believe that you haven't actually investigated thoroughly, but you believe them to be true.
Right. Right. You haven't investigated it thoroughly, but
Yeah,
you
but
believe it to be
them.
true.
You believe them.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not good, is it?
That's not necessarily the case. Some things you can't investigate, and you're going to take it on the authority of people, for example.
Something I can't investigate and only put on the authority of people. That's something I should base my worldview on?
You probably already do, or they're parts of your worldview.
But I'm asking you that I should base my worldview on that?
I'm telling you, it already is. It
but
already is based
right?
on that. The way you live your life. How old are you, Dwayne?
I'm 25.
You're 25 years old. The way you live your life now and the things you do are already based on things that you have never investigated. But you do it anyways. And you don't even think about it.
Why are you assuming that? Why
because
are you
I know
assuming
that to be the case.
How do you know that to be the case?
Because I've studied this stuff.
But you don't know me personally.
It
you
doesn't
don't know
matter.
my story.
There's
you
no
don't
way
know me at all.
It doesn't matter. There's absolutely zero
That doesn't matter?
chance there's absolutely zero chance that you've investigated every single thing to the fine details in your life that you believe and live out.
I think that's why I'm an agnostic, isn't it?
Well, we've proved you're not an agnostic already.
But you're saying that I haven't investigated anything thoroughly.
Yeah, that you don't take an agnostic position on is what I'm saying. You actually live your life like it's the way it is.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's known and what's right.
You're really not sure what's right?
No. I'm saying in terms of worldviews.
Okay, worldviews include
I'm not talking about
things.
morals. I'm not talking about ethics. I'm talking about.
Maybe you and I are using the word worldview differently, but worldviews include many different things. Okay, for example, do you think that we should be fair towards people that we hire and they work for us?
Absolutely.
Okay, where do you get that from? What worldview is that from?
My own worldview.
But no, it's not.
What?
That's not from your worldview. You didn't develop that.
I don't have my own mind?
No, you have your own mind, but that's not from your own worldview. You are not the originator of fairness.
Okay. Well, maybe it was my parents' worldview, my family's worldview.
Correct. And where did they get it from?
The environment.
Yeah, congratulations. You've just admitted that it's Christianity that's given that worldview to you.
Are you saying that I grew up in a Christian household?
No, I'm saying that you grew up in a Christian society and you are blessed to be a part of a Christian society that has impacted your worldview. For example, do you think we should...
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
No.
Okay.
No, the question is not whether you think there's something wrong with it or not. It doesn't matter whether you think something's wrong with it or not. What I'm saying,
not ashamed of living in a Christian country.
Oh, that's not what I'm saying. You keep misunderstanding what I'm trying to say. Okay. What I'm saying is there are many things in your life that you haven't investigated thoroughly to the details that you believe and live out. We just proved that. Like you believe in the concept of freedom and fairness and all that stuff.
So you're saying that there's some Christian values that I have that I have not investigated thoroughly?
Correct. And whether they even correlate to what you believe or not. For example, do you believe that all people should be treated equally?
Absolutely.
That's a Christian idea. You can't just have that.
So you're saying that the first time that someone said that someone should be treated equally was from a Christian?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Or the first time that somebody said,
the idea that all men should be equal and treated equally is a Christian idea, is what I'm saying.
I'm not saying that that's not a Christian idea. Okay, yeah, that's a Christian idea.
But so why are you living according to Christian ideas if you don't believe in the Christian God? You have a contradictory worldview.
Because the values of Christianity and why, and the events of Christianity and why you need to believe them to be true are two different things.
One follows the other. Because it's a worldview, because they're systemically connected to one another.
Okay.
But this is, again, going to prove the point that I was saying, is that there's many things that you believe that you haven't investigated, which I said that initially because you were saying that there's people who came to believe Christianity through various ways, and whether that's right or wrong. And I was telling you, that's just not the way knowledge works. And I used you to prove the point.
Okay, people have now looked through things thoroughly. Okay, and people have people have different ways of proving their worldviews to themselves. Okay. Yeah,
that was just to make sense of the point you made, that whether it was correct in my mind or not.
Did I say that?
No, you asked me a question. That was my way of answering your question.
on why you think it's right, and why you believe that your belief is right, is the right one?
No, what I'm saying is essentially what you're saying. Your scenario was not a fair scenario as to why people believe in Christianity. There could be people who believe in Christianity in various ways and reasons.
Okay, all right. If I said that, I apologize. Yes, there are people that come to the belief of Christianity in various ways. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, and they're justified in it.
But not just
self-justification.
Many worldviews. That doesn't just apply to Christianity.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because a person's justification towards something, and justification,
Yes.
I would say, with a capital J, is a very different kind of question.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's fair.
Sorry.
But to go into why, that's a different topic. But okay, people can believe it for various reasons.
Why somebody else should? Yeah, that's a different topic.
Okay, people can believe it for various reasons. Okay. People can believe it's the right one for various reasons. Okay, yeah, all right. But then let's go into it. Let's go into their belief.
Well, we did.
I
think.
What do they believe?
I mean, we just spent more than an hour and a half talking about a number of those things.
Yeah, yeah, we did, but we didn't really go into it.
Okay.
We went more onto why is it right?
Okay, so why don't you ask me a question? Why don't you ask me a question that's like kind of nuanced and particular, so I know what you're really saying. So throw a prompt out there. Let me see if I can think through it.
Okay. Your belief is Christianity. Okay. You believe it's the right religion. Okay. Why?
Why do I believe it's the right religion?
Yes.
Oh, because I think the evidence supports it.
Okay. Now, the various things that it talks about, like Jesus is God.
Mm-hmm.
He fulfilled prophecy. He resurrected. Are there problems with that?
No, I don't think there's problems with that.
Okay.
Like, give me an example that you think there are problems with that. Like, give me an example of like Jesus being God.
Well, when you say that Jesus fulfilled prophecy.
Uh-huh.
The prophecies that he fulfilled are very generalized.
Okay, let's just take Isaiah 53. Tell me how that's generalized.
The suffering servant?
Isaiah 53, particularly Isaiah 53. The suffering servant is a general title that's applied to multiple persons.
He preached the word of God. He was a messenger. He was killed.
That's not what Isaiah 53. Isaiah 53 talks about that he took the iniquity of us all upon himself.
Okay, so he took
the sin, all of our sins upon himself. Yeah.
The sin of all of us upon himself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's just one prophecy.
Yeah, but okay, tell me how that's vague.
Well, anybody can go, yeah, I serve Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll die for your sins.
Anybody can say that.
In Isaiah 53, that's talking about me.
Yeah, anybody can say that.
Right, which is why we need to go into other prophecies. I'm
saying anybody can say that because every single person would have his own sin to have to deal with.
And this person would have to be sinless.
Yes.
Okay, this person that is sinless, I
Have you read Isaiah 6?
would like to. What in Isaiah 6 is
Have you read Isaiah 6?
is going to be? No, not exactly. No.
Yeah. So in Isaiah 6, Isaiah is confronted by God, and the first words out of his mouth is, woe unto me, for I am a man of unclean lips who lives amongst the people of unclean lips.
He saw the face of God.
Not necessarily. He saw God high and lifted up on his throne.
He saw God high and lifted up, and then the angel put the coal on his lips.
Do you know
And
why
then
he did that?
Why the angel put the coal on his lips?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because to cleanse him from his sin.
Okay.
Because he confesses what a great sinner he is when he sees God.
Okay.
Yeah, Isaiah 6 is very good.
What does that have to do with it?
Well, because if you look into individuals that are Isaiah scholars, one of the things that is thrown out there is that Isaiah is the suffering servant. But it becomes problematic when Isaiah has his own sins.
Oh, so some people believe that Isaiah was the suffering servant?
Some people have suggested that. Some people have even suggested that's the nation of Israel. Some people are not Christians, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's their viewpoint.
But you realize how that can be wrong, right?
I realize how that could be wrong. I realize how a so-called sinless man who said that this is about him could also be wrong.
Okay.
Again, so-called sinless man.
Mm-hmm.
How do I know for a fact that he's sinless? I don't know. Don't ask me. He said it.
Yeah, that's again that argument is not an argument.
But what we're going to talk about? Wait. I don't want. Wait, I want to dwell into anything more.
Okay.
I just want. We are talking about prophecies, because the prophecies that says Jesus was the Messiah. Okay, he was going to be born in Galilee. He was going to start his ministry. He was going to go to Egypt at some point and then come back to Israel. He was going to ride a donkey at some point. And then at some point, he's going to be betrayed by a friend and then is killed. That is very general.
Yeah, individually taken. Now, if you put them together, what are the probabilities of all of those things becoming true about one individual person?
That very huge, sir.
So what?
A Galilean man, a Jew. He's going to be Jewish.
A Galilean man whose mom was a virgin when she was impregnated.
Right.
How many of those? If
you add the miraculous prophecies,
well, no, that's a prophecy from Isaiah. The virgin will be with child.
Right. If you add the miraculous prophecies, there's no way to refute them. But majority of the prophecies are very general. They could be talking about anything.
You could say that. You could say
but
that.
If you add on the messianic prophecies, then there's no way to refute it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I was born of a virgin. I did miracles. I rose from the dead. How could you refute that? I'm also a Galilean man. That and all this other stuff. But if you apply it all to Jesus, of course you can't refute it.
Well, it happened in the life of this individual. So like, of course you can't refute it. But yeah.
So-called.
So-called like what?
So-called he was born of a virgin.
What would his mom have known if he was of a virgin?
No, I'm saying so-called that this particular man was born of a virgin.
Okay, so give me arguments. You can't just say what if.
I'm giving you arguments.
That's not an argument. That's not an argument. There's a claim.
It's not on me. It's not on me to prove that he was born of a virgin. It's on you.
And who would have known? Who would it be? The people who would have known this to be the case or not?
Jesus, Joseph, Mary.
Okay. So the data we have in front of us supports my hypothesis and conclusions.
So the mother and father and the son that are claiming that he was born of a virgin. Oh yeah, yep, it's true.
Yeah, among all the other things in his life.
Right, the miracles.
Not just the miracles.
And the resurrection.
I mean, his ministry.
Well,
his teaching, like his wisdom, like the things that comes out of this guy to those around him. See, the thing here is that you have to make up your mind on Jesus. Right? You read it, and I'm sure you've heard of C.S. Lewis's trilemma. But you have to make up your mind on Jesus. Was this guy the real deal? If not, did the disciples make up all this stuff about him? And, whatever, past 100 years, they turned him into this legend and gave him all these, qualities that the original historic Jesus didn't have, like you were saying. Like, you have to make up your mind on it. It just can't be what if. If you're gonna have these discussions, you gotta make up your mind on it. See, the folks that you were quoting, I'm forgetting now. The Jesus Seminar folks. I lost them, by the way. I think it froze and he fell off. But to finish my thought, the Jesus Seminar folks that you were quoting have made up their minds. Supernatural things are not possible. There's a distinction between the Christian Jesus versus the historical Jesus. And they think they're right on the historical Jesus. But it can't just be like, what if this happened and what if that happened? And these things are vague, and so they just applied it to him. It's got to be consistent. The Christians have a consistent view. And in response to that consistent view, you got to refute it and then give us an alternate version of it. That's very important in these kinds of dialogues. Hey, I know I've ignored the chat a little bit. By the way, guys, I haven't been feeling well at all. Yesterday, I woke up yesterday feeling extremely sick. And shivers. Let me actually see. Dwayne just called back. Let me finish this thought, Dwayne. Okay, so shivers, all that stuff. Sleeping all day. Massive headache all day. So today I woke up feeling, my wife made me some bomb soup, which was really good. Medicated myself. Today I woke up feeling a little bit better, and better enough. It's partly why I didn't go live at like 1:00, but better enough to say, man, I've been locked up in my house for 2 days. Let me just go online and do a stream. So, Jerome's in the house, and Jerome's saying stuff like, "Hey, yeah, I was in Cali. He's back home now, but he said they tried to get me to eat a lot of strange Armenian food." Let me say something I've learned about Jerome. I love the man. He's a great guy. A couple of things I've learned about him. One is he needs to speak louder. Two, like his voice needs to be more pronounced. Number two, Jerome needs to learn how to appreciate different kinds of food. And I don't know, sometimes this happens with, single children and stuff. They're kind of spoiled. Their moms always feed them what they want and desire and all that stuff. But man, we fed him. We had him try this and that and the other thing. And everything he ate, this guy was like, oh, it's meh. It's whatever. It's okay. We, took him and had the guy eat In-N-Out. And like, there's a whole debate in the United States, In-N-Out. And he was like, well, it's okay. I'm like, bro, there's no way you eat burgers in England that are remotely close to tasting this good, and you're just like disrespecting it like that. So, he really needs to grow up and appreciate good food. Took him out to Korean barbecue. I didn't get a report on that one. But yeah, he did have sushi, and he was like, okay, it's okay. But we fed him good food, man. We had him taste some strange stuff, and I understand some of it's like acquired. It's an acquired taste. Like we made him to drink this yogurt drink. There's this whole thing about him drinking yogurt drink and then eating yogurt and then eating hot yogurt. Like I get it. That's probably more of an acquired taste. But we took him to this amazing Armenian barbecue place. Not going to mention who was there, but the company was amazing. Trump would say, maybe one of the greatest group of people to ever hang. They say it was amazing, right? The food was amazing. The company was amazing. And I was like, Jerome, how's the food? And he was like, nah, I don't know. Do you know the amount of people I've taken to that place to eat? We should have sent him back with basturma. Maybe. That would have been good. We didn't have him have basturma, by the way. That would have been interesting. He might have actually liked that. I don't know. Dwayne, can you hear me? Are you muted? Do you want to talk? It says guest. Hang on. I think I got to do this thing before that works.
Yeah.
Okay, there
now
we
I
are.
can talk.
Okay, now we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, my phone died.
I assume that.
Yeah, sorry about the cold, by
That's
the way.
okay.
Hope you feel better.
Thank you.
So before my phone died, you were talking about how not only did the resurrection and all the miraculous prophecies have to be fulfilled, but also that he began ministry.
Well, I'm saying his ministry in totality, the things Jesus says, the ethical commands Jesus gives. I mean, there aren't individuals that really stand against the moral influence of this person on the world. And this is what I was saying. My point was, you need to sort of make up your mind on the person of Jesus. Now, I don't know if it died, then you didn't hear my following statements. My statements was you need to make up your mind. Like, for example, I said the Jesus Seminar folks have made up their minds on the person of Jesus. Right? Right or wrong,
Right,
they've kind of come to a place on him.
I'm not saying that he wasn't a good rabbi. I'm not saying that Christianity wasn't very, very influential.
But you realize he claimed to be God.
Yes.
Then he would not have been a good rabbi. Good rabbis don't go around claiming to be God.
Well, that's the question then, isn't it?
Well, this is Lewis's. This is what I said.
He was either a psychopath.
Correct.
He was either a false teacher or he was God.
Okay,
well, that's the question.
You can't say he was good and then he's saying these nutty stuff.
But I'm saying is that there were prophecies that this man said that I'm about. One of them was that he began a ministry. Okay, who can't begin a ministry?
He quotes Isaiah 61. It's not just I started a ministry. What was that?
Who can't begin a ministry?
Oh, people can begin ministries all the time, but they can't necessarily do what Jesus did.
That's a very generalization of a prophecy. My
Dwayne, hang on. Before you get ahead of yourself, because there's a lot more to be said about this. It's not just the ministry. Do you know what passage Jesus quotes when he begins his ministry?
What?
Isaiah 61. Do you know what Isaiah 61 says?
What does it say?
It says, the Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to those who are bound, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor, and the day of the vengeance of God, to comfort all who mourn. When Jesus quotes this passage when he starts his ministry. When John the Baptist's disciples have issues with Jesus, when John the Baptist has issues with Jesus, he sends his disciples to ask Jesus, what's going on? And Jesus says, do you not see the blind healed and the deaf, the blind can see and the deaf are healed? So there's an aspect of Jesus accomplishing this mission that he quotes, that he's been anointed to bring good news to the poor, to bind up the brokenhearted, proclaim liberty to the captives, is that it's happening.
The problem with that is that anyone can say that.
Yeah, but anybody can say that and do the things that Jesus did amongst his contemporaries.
Like what?
Like when Jesus
heal the blind, heal the crippled, heal the dumb.
Correct.
Like
because,
those things.
Yeah, he says it's being done in your own, with your, before you, like before your own eyes, these things are being done. He goes, that's the evidence that this is who I am.
Right. Right.
The problem is going to be with someone.
It does say in the Bible, you're right. It does say that he did those things, and he did believe he was God, and they did believe that he did those things, of course.
Yeah.
Now,
the problem is that you don't think the Bible is in any way authentic when it says these things.
When you mean in any way authentic, what do you mean?
Yeah, when it talks about the miracles, you don't think it's authentic.
I have no problem with it being authentic. I hope it is authentic. But is it authentic? That's not up for me to say.
Who's it up to say?
Well, I'm not a biblical scholar, am I?
No, so you're not. So if the biblical scholar said it, would you believe it?
If I say it's not, if I say, yeah, the Bible isn't authentic, well, what does that mean?
So Dwayne, if the biblical scholars said it's authentic, would you believe it?
If the biblical scholars say that, no, I of course there's biblical scholars that say that it's authentic. There's also other people that say that it isn't.
Yeah, and why is it that they say it's not?
Why is it?
Yeah.
Do you have an answer to that?
Yeah, because they don't believe miracles are possible, because they don't believe in God.
You think that's the only reason they say it's not authentic?
I think it's for sure the major reason, if not the only reason. I can almost guarantee that.
And therefore, their opinion shouldn't matter.
No, therefore, the bias that you're trying to avoid so much is being included into your conclusions because you think these people are being actually objective.
So you're saying that they themselves have bias?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it.
But do the people that believe it's true also have bias?
Yeah, because I don't think that you can escape bias.
You don't? I'm sorry?
I think it's impossible to escape bias. Everybody has a bias.
How so?
Everybody has a bias. Everybody wants certain things to be certain ways.
Okay, but there are things that are objectively true.
Oh, yes,
things that are objectively false.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then that's not true.
What's not true?
That everyone has a bias.
Well, everybody does have a bias. That doesn't somehow result in there not being objective truth.
I'm not saying that everyone doesn't have a bias on a certain topic. But to say that there are some topics that you can't help but have a bias on? No,
well, when they come out, when those specific scholars come out and say, look, we don't think miracles can happen. And so therefore, we're not going to trust any of these statements about Jesus doing miracles are valid. Then, yeah, I don't think what they say matters.
Well, that's the problem then, isn't it? That's the problem with basing your worldview on such a faith, is that it's all based on bias. It's all there's all these twists and turns on beliefs. That's the problem. And for people to have doubts and for people to not base their worldview on that,
you're denying that.
Really
no.
That's not illogical for them to do.
That is not what's happening. So you're looking at all the data in front of you. You're looking at the earliest data in front of you, and all the data and earliest data is claiming one thing. And here you are 2,000 years later, and you think
isn't the oldest religion.
What?
Well, Christianity isn't the oldest religion.
And?
Hinduism goes far back than Christianity.
And is Hinduism an atheistic religion?
Since we have early evidence of Hindu followers. Does that then mean that Hinduism is true?
No. But is Hinduism an atheistic religion?
Of course not.
Dwayne, you're not listening.
Of course that doesn't mean that it's true.
Dwayne,
so then why would you apply it to Christianity?
You're not listening.
How am I? Okay, go ahead with what you're saying.
I said, is Hinduism an atheistic religion?
Is Hinduism an atheistic religion? No.
It's not. It doesn't believe in spiritual entities and realities.
No, you just said nothing right there. Isn't an atheistic religion? Of course not. What does that mean?
Oh, there's atheistic religions. I don't know if you knew about that.
There are atheistic religions.
Yeah, there are forms of Buddhism that are atheistic.
How does that apply to Hinduism and Christianity?
Oh, you said Hinduism is the older religion, and my point was that Hinduism in its form is a spiritual religion. It believes in the realities of non-physical beings and the existence of things beyond just our human realm.
And Christianity doesn't also believe in that?
Correct, yeah. You know what doesn't believe in that? Atheism.
Atheists?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So if I go on the oldest data, it's gonna be a more spiritual view of the world I'm gonna have. But my issue is not that. My issue is the modern scholars, the so-called modern scholars, who have that system that they project upon the data that we have. That it just can't be like that, so therefore it must be invented. I think is lousy scholarship. It's absolutely lousy scholarship. And yeah, I shouldn't take their word for it.
That's lousy. Okay, that's lousy scholarship. Okay.
So their conclusions are wrong.
So therefore the contrast is the best scholarship? So the contrast to that lousy scholarship that you just said, the contrast to that is the Christian scholarship.
No,
therefore, that's the best scholarship?
Well, what are the options that you have?
No other options. That's the problem.
No, there might be other options. You just might not be aware of them. But what are the options that you have? You're looking at a set of data.
Other religions,
do you have a career?
Yes.
What do you do?
I work in business and marketing.
Okay. So you have a certain amount of data that sits in front of you, correct?
Yes.
And there's a good way of dealing with that, and there's a bad way of dealing with that.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. We have data sitting in front of us. The data is the New Testament, let's just say.
Okay, but
and there's a good way of dealing with it and a bad way of dealing with it.
It's not based on my faith.
What?
But the data that I have in mind is not based on a faith.
Oh, I think you just have a misunderstanding of the word faith. But okay. I don't know how you define faith. It's just definitely the way you're defining faith is most likely not the way that Christians define faith.
Well, everyone has a different definition of faith.
No,
okay,
they don't.
Okay.
Or
what's your definition of faith? What's your definition of faith?
Christianity is a faith-based religion in as much as this, that we are evidence-based. You follow where the evidence leads. You put your faith on the evidence. It's all over the Bible.
Blessed is he who has not seen me but still believes in me.
Yes, in contrast to someone seeing and doubting.
So it's saying...
Look, look, man, I've studied the Bible long enough. Let me tell you this. I don't know how long you've been looking at these things. You might, how long have you been considering these things?
All my life.
It hasn't been all your life, bro. You're 25 years old.
It hasn't been all my life?
It hasn't been all your life.
Sure. Sir, I apologize for assuming things about you. Why are you
Brother,
assuming
you're
things
telling me
about
you've been
me?
thinking about this stuff for 25 years? It hasn't been all your
25
life.
years.
It hasn't been all your life.
Obviously not when I okay. Well, obviously not when I was a baby.
Okay,
Obviously not when I
so
was an
how long have you
infant.
been seriously
That's
thinking
not what
about
I'm
these things?
saying.
I wanted to, yeah, all my life was not a good answer. How long have you been thinking about these things?
Well, that I've been coherently thinking. So I'd say about 10, 9.
That's fair. I started thinking about this stuff when I was 17, 18 years old. I've studied the Bible long enough and done the whole education stuff. I have multiple degrees in these things. And to the sense, and I'm making this point, is that I can quote any Bible out of context and make it seem like anything I wanted to make it seem.
Oh, well, you have a lot more knowledge than me. I'm going to admit that. Yeah.
Yeah, but
you
what I'm
have
saying is,
you're a lot more knowledgeable on the
be very
Bible.
careful
Okay,
when
yeah.
you're quoting stuff and then thinking that's what Christianity teaches. So you're
I'm
quoting
not assuming anything.
well, you are when you quoted Jesus' response to Thomas. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe.
Well, are there
And
people
somehow
that have different
based
views
on that,
verse?
Christianity
Okay,
is.
sure.
Hang on. The point that you're making there was based on that quotation. Christianity is telling us that being an ignorant follower without any evidence is a
That's
better
not what
thing to have.
Christianity is saying. That's what Jesus is saying.
That is not what Jesus is saying.
Did I not quote what he just said?
Yeah, but again, not in full context. I can quote a lot of people, including yourself, and just pull you guys completely out of context.
All right. Okay. That's my fault. Okay. Thomas was doubting Jesus. Jesus came to Thomas, and then he said, "My Lord, my God." And then he said, "Because you have seen me, you believe." And then Jesus said, "Blessed is he who has not seen me, but still believes." Okay. There's the context. My fault. What does that change?
Well, what it changes there is that Thomas has had plenty of evidence given to him, and he still yet doesn't believe. Right? And there's a factual statement made that he believes because he has seen. And there are people who are going to believe without seeing the things that he's seen. And they are blessed, which means happy. That is not that is not to say that we're projecting a worldview here where ignorance is what should be encouraged, or the lack of evidence or something like that. That's not what it's saying.
Okay, that's true.
That's what my point was.
Okay, but real quick, you just re-say your definition of faith. I missed it.
Well, look, simply put, Hebrews 11:1 defines faith for Christians. I think it does a pretty decent job in saying that.
Because you said that you think that my definition of faith is the wrong definition.
Well, I think the way you define faith is the way faith is defined generally in public, which is that it's like this belief in the absence of evidence. And Christianity doesn't teach that.
That's not what I believe either.
Wait, so you said it's not based on my faith when you were talking about the data that was sitting in front of you. And when I'm looking at the data, when I'm looking at the New Testament data, it's just what it is. It's historical data sitting in front of me.
I'm sure that you can have some historical information that could help you back up Christianity. Okay.
No. I'm just saying there's data. It's not the backing up of Christianity. That's a completely separate conversation. It's when I'm looking at the data that we have, the oldest and earliest data that we have, it is what it is. There's no denying that.
Well, again, I talked about Hinduism. Hinduism is older than Christianity.
Correct. And then we can go back and look at the claims of Hinduism. Right. And we can start at a very general level and go into the more specifics and see whether what's going on and what the earliest writings for Hinduism were, as opposed to the claims that they're making.
Right. And my point is Hinduism is even older than Christianity.
Yeah, but the claims it's making and the things that are being claimed, what's the difference historically between those two things? That matters.
Okay.
That's a part of the data. The claims that the
Okay.
New Testament is making versus when the events happened, that matters.
Okay.
That distance in time period. Go compare it and see what's going on there.
Okay.
I'm not
So
going to do a
basically,
comparison for you.
Hinduism is not as credible as Christianity.
Well, I think Hinduism has a lot of faults in it just purely on a philosophical level,
Okay.
like polytheism.
Okay. So
So one can
okay.
reject Hinduism just based on polytheism.
All right. Okay. So let's throw Hinduism out. Okay. It's not credible. And well, in your eyes. Okay. For your eyes. Okay. No. Hinduism isn't very credible. Christianity is more credible. I personally think that it's not very credible. I think that we don't know about the higher power. So is that wrong for me?
No, it could be
Because
that you don't know.
I have no
You can
historical
say, look,
evidence
you can say you
for
don't
higher
know.
power.
But listen, Dwayne, you can say that you don't know. Once you make a claim like we don't know or we can't know, then the conversation changes.
Well, that's the biggest objection to Christianity.
In what sense?
Divine hiddenness.
That's not the big. Okay. Have you been watching Alex
Well,
O'Connor?
is it not? Is it not? Is it not the biggest objection?
It's not the biggest objection, number one. The biggest objection is the problem of evil. Anybody who's done this will tell you that. Divine hiddenness, it really depends on how people want to formulate it.
And also animal suffering.
Bro, stop listening to Alex O'Connor. Like if you're just gonna regurgitate, look.
This is the 5th time you've assumed something of me. I don't even watch Alex O'Connor.
Whoever you've watched has watched Alex O'Connor. Those two things coming together is Alex.
No,
Divine hiddenness and animal suffering coming together is absolutely Alex, bro.
I'm telling you objections to Christianity. And one of the biggest is, okay, you said it, the problem of evil. You brought that up to yourself. And I brought up
because that's
suffering,
the one, yeah.
Animal suffering, and divine hiddenness. Now, I brought up divine hiddenness because you were talking about the credibleness of Christianity. And no, excuse me. You were talking about how I say I don't know. And we can say we don't know. Well, I'm saying divine hiddenness, that's the biggest objection to Christianity.
You think that's the biggest objection? Formulate the objection for me.
Okay, God. Omnipresent. Omnipotent.
Mm-hmm.
He, and among other things, he is everywhere and nowhere all at once. He is all powerful. He's the creator of the universe. But we can't see him. We can't talk to him. We can't touch him. We can't smell him. That is a problem.
That is not divine hiddenness.
What is divine hiddenness?
I have no idea what you just said, but that's not divine hiddenness, man.
What is divine hiddenness? Say what divine hiddenness.
No. I want you to say it because you said it's the biggest objection.
I just told you.
It's not. That is not divine hiddenness.
What's divine hiddenness?
I'm not going to tell you but I'm going to tell you that's not it. If anybody in the chat wants to help you out with the divine hiddenness argument is, they can. But what you just said is not divine hiddenness.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I put the. I'm gonna say that I brought the wrong definition of divine hiddenness. Okay, then let's look this up. Since I'm wrong, divine hiddenness. The supposed fact that the existence of God is less than obvious. What from what I said has nothing to do with that.
Because you didn't formulate anything.
Because you already know about divine hiddenness. I don't need to
I
formulate
told you to
anything.
formulate the
You
argument.
already know about the theory of divine hiddenness.
So formulate the argument.
Okay, my fault. I should have said it a lot more articulately. I should have formed the entire argument for people that maybe are watching right now that don't know it. Okay, my fault.
Okay, so God seems to be less obvious than he should be. Based on what criteria?
Yeah. Based on the criteria that if I look at the Bible
Mm-hmm.
and see, oh wow, God interacts with all of these people, and he interacts with them pretty much very, very easily, and it's pretty active. He does it a lot. That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, it's a misreading of the Bible.
It's a misreading of the Bible.
Yeah, because God's not always...
How so?
Like God will talk to Abraham and it won't talk to him for another 20 years. That's how. The book of Acts that seems to have miracles every single day is a 30-year time span.
Okay. Since the time of the Bible, no one has interacted with God.
Oh, that's not true. Bro, you don't want to take on a burden of proof like that.
Who's interacted with God?
Me.
How have you interacted with God? Because
I've prayed. He's answered my prayers.
He's answered your prayers.
Mm-hmm.
So you've asked something from God.
Uh-huh.
And then something in your life happened to where that prayer was answered.
Yeah.
And you attributed that to God.
Yes.
So you don't know how this could have happened. But you know that you asked God for it. Therefore, God gave it to you.
No. I had a dream that I was going to have a kid, and then my wife was pregnant, and I had a kid. And there's many witnesses to me saying I had a dream. There's many witnesses. Was
your wife not able to have a child?
No. Not that. Sorry. So people are going to misunderstand that. Hang on. I had a dream my wife was pregnant. And we weren't necessarily trying to have a kid. And I woke up and I knew she was pregnant. I told my wife, "You're pregnant." She said, "No, I'm not." I said, "Yes, you are." And she was pregnant. And as a matter of fact, I had the dream when she was a week pregnant. And I have an 11-year-old son now. That's the kid.
Okay, that's beautiful.
All right, that's the interaction with God.
Okay, you believe that to be an interaction with God.
Well, it has to be. What else would it be?
Did you already have the belief of God before you told her that you had this dream?
Yeah.
So of course you would attribute it to God.
That's what? Tell me how that would have. Tell me according to your worldview how you would make sense of what I just said.
You had a dream about your wife being pregnant, and you weren't necessarily trying to have a kid.
Mm-hmm. And my dream was right. She was pregnant on the dot.
Okay. All right. I'm not saying that's not true. Okay, that happened.
But explain it to me. Explain how it would happen beyond, say, God revealing that to me.
What do you mean? If you believe that God is all powerful, it can do anything.
No, according to your worldview, not according to my worldview, man. According to your worldview.
According to my worldview. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have. Okay. So my worldview on you asking God for a
No, you
kid,
made the claim nobody's interacted with God since the Bible, which is a very heavy burden of proof because, like, I don't want to get into it. Plenty of people have. Okay? People I know directly have. People who weren't believers. People who didn't
Okay.
believe in God have had
I'm not.
experiences. As a matter of fact, one of them is in the chat right now, and that individual was someone who was arguing with me just the way you are about 3
I'm not
years
saying
ago.
that. I'm not
As an
saying that people
atheist.
don't.
No, I'm
I'm
just
not saying
telling
that.
you.
But I'm telling you. I'm not saying that people don't use personal experience as a proof to God.
No, you said
I'm not
nobody's
saying that.
experienced God. And I said, don't pick that as
That's right.
a standard.
No. That's not what I said. I said no one has encountered with God after the Bible.
And I told
That's
you
what
you're
I said.
wrong.
And I'm saying, of course, people are going to use personal experience as their proof of the existence of God.
Mm-hmm. But they
So
don't know
then
any
how
better.
does that disprove my point?
Because they've experienced God.
And I'm saying, who wouldn't use personal experience to prove the existence of God?
You are talking about personal experiences. Do you know what the
Yeah.
word encounter means?
Yeah.
That's a personal experience.
And you're saying
If
that
I said I
that proof
encountered
does
my
not
neighbor
exist?
today, and you're like, what do you mean? I was like, oh, I saw him. I said hi to him. It's like, bro, that's a personal experience. That's what
I hope
encounter
you're not.
means.
I hope you're not comparing your neighbor to God.
Oh man, come on, bro. Don't do that. Don't.
Well, I'm
That's so
telling
lame.
you I'm telling you how personal. I'm trying to explain to you how personal experience when you're already believing in
I
God
just told you about
is a
examples of
no-brainer.
people who don't believe in God. And I told you there's someone in the chat right now who was an atheist, way more articulate than you, way more combative than you.
I don't know their story. I
Yeah,
don't
you
know their
don't.
story.
Yeah, I'm
I
just
don't know if
saying.
they grew up. I don't know if they grew up Christian and then deconverted to atheism. I don't know their story.
See how you're just
So
trying
to
to
say
cope? Do you see how you're trying to cope?
no.
Yeah, it's a cope.
I'm saying that I'm not going to just okay. Oh yeah, you have a friend that's an atheist that converted to Christianity. Okay, yeah, okay, that disproves my point. No, obviously not, because I don't know their story. I don't know if they grew up Christian. I don't know if they deconverted to deconverted Christianity to atheism. I don't know if they have been thinking about God. There's a lot of things they have to put into account when somebody just all of a sudden converts to Christianity or has a dream about God or has some kind of encounter with God. So it's not a very good use of,
No,
oh
it's
yeah,
just not
people have
something you
encountered
should be
God,
arguing, is my point.
because there's a big difference between the people that you're talking about encountering with God and the Bible talking about people encountering with God. We're talking about people that have gone to war and God has saved them from war. We're talking about people that have been raised from the dead because of God. We're talking about people that were made from
And
the
not many
dust
people in the Bible are
because
raised
of
from the
God.
dead, by the way.
What are you trying to say with that?
I'm just saying not many people are raised, because you were talking about how common the occurrences are in the Bible of these encounters, and I told you that they're not as that's a misreading of the Bible. They're not as often as people might think they are,
No, but
because
I'm
the
saying,
Bible
okay,
leaves
you can say that it's
large
not very often.
portions out.
Okay, even if it wasn't often, which it was, but let's just say that it wasn't often. These are very special encounters.
That's fine.
No, it's not fine,
Why
because
not?
nothing has like that has happened since then.
Not that you know of.
Oh, so people have encountered God and God told them to write down their experiences, and then over a course of thousands of years, they've gathered these stories together and made another Bible.
Do you
You see
generally
how
do
that
that
doesn't
in
work,
your
right?
conversations, Dwayne? Like
No,
what you
I'm
just
telling
did.
you.
What you just
No,
did. Do you
no, no,
generally do that
no,
in your
I'm
conversations?
no, I'm
No,
telling,
I'm
no, I'm telling
genuinely,
you.
and I know, but I'm genuinely asking you. Like, do you do that when you're having conversations with your friends? They say something
Like
and you
what?
go, "What you're saying is," and then you come up with this absurd scenario.
Well, through this conversation, you've assumed many things of me, and
No,
I've told them that they're not true, but you still
I'm
want to assume
asking.
them. So
Yeah,
let's not go
because you
tit for
keep
tat,
doing
because
it.
you've done that many times.
You keep
So
doing it. I've been talking to people longer than you've been alive.
Okay, what does that? Okay, you
I'm
go
just
into
telling
I'm
you.
more knowledgeable than you.
No,
I've
it's not
lived
about.
longer than you.
It's
I've
about.
talked to people
No,
more
it's
longer
just
than
you
you.
can pick up
But
on.
this is not what this is not what this
I
conversation
know,
is
but you
about.
can pick
Okay,
up on habits that people have, Dwayne. Right? Like if I've been doing it for a long time, I can pick up on some habits that people have. And I keep making points, and then you'll say something like, what you're saying is people have experienced this and have written it down, and now they have a new Bible. No, that's not what I'm saying. If you actually paid attention to what I was saying, you would know that's not what I'm saying.
No, I'm not saying that's what you were saying. I'm saying, okay, you're saying that the special encounters, that's fine if that hasn't happened since the Bible. And I'm saying, no, that's not fine. Because if said special encounters have happened since then, we should have another Bible.
Why?
Because that's the special encounters that have happened in the
you're
Bible.
just coming up with arbitrary rules that fit Dwayne's system of thinking.
I'm not coming with
without even realizing. Hang on, without even realizing. Okay, without even realizing that there is a intent as to why the Bible was formulated and written the way it was, and why we're not just constantly keep adding people's experiences to the Bible. There's reasons for these things, and whether you're aware of them or ignore them or aren't aware of them at all, which I think you're not aware of them at all, and then that's why you're saying things like, well, why shouldn't we keep adding to these things?
You see what you just did there? Okay. You see what you just did there? You just said, okay, but you don't know that. But anyway.
But you don't know that.
Come on.
Tell me why we're not keeping adding to the Bible with people's experiences of divine encounters. Tell me in Christian theology. Tell me.
No. But that wasn't the conversation we were having.
Okay, yeah, because I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt that you're ignorant on the subject.
Ignorant on what? Look, I'm just saying the argument of divine hiddenness.
You did not present the argument of divine hiddenness. As a matter of fact, let me read this comment to you. This is a person, by the way, that strongly likes the argument of divine hiddenness and has dealt with it for a very long time. And has sent me, and we've interacted with this material. Okay.
Are you seriously going to the
divine hiddenness argument proponents are very sad after hearing that formulation?
Are you seriously going to the comments to attack me,
brother? This is
this is a conversation between us.
Comment
this is
right
a conversation
here,
between us.
This
is a conversation between us.
Gosh. Jerome,
this is a conversation between us, and then you're going, let's see what the comments say about what you're talking about.
This brother would back you up in actually divine hiddenness conversations.
Okay, so you already know.
I'm trying to throw you a bone.
Okay, so you already know the argument of divine hiddenness.
I do know it, but you don't know it. That's the problem, and I'm not going to do all the work for you. I've had conversations with atheists and agnostics and Muslims for a long time, Dwayne.
I literally looked up the definition of the divine hiddenness.
You did a very surface level definition, correct?
Oh, okay. So I looked up the definition, but it was still surface level. So
it's absolutely surface level. Okay, brother, listen to me. Formulate the argument for me. Give me syllogisms, give me a conclusion. That would be a deeper level formulation of the argument versus, oh, God seems hidden.
So I didn't give you the argument objecting to your belief good enough. So you're mad about that now?
I'm not mad. I'm trying to help you.
I'm giving you rough. I'm giving you the argument roughly because I don't want to sit here for 5 hours talking to you because I know that other people want to come on this platform to talk to you. So if you want to have this argument,
we've already been talking for 2 hours, 3 hours into this. My point here is, if you're going to come up with what you claimed to be the toughest objection to Christianity, but you can't formulate it. That's problematic.
Which you already knew.
I know a lot of stuff. I can argue for atheism better than most atheists. Listen to me. I can argue for atheism better than most atheists can argue for atheism.
I'm not arguing for atheism.
So what? I know you're not. We already established you're not that. We already established you're not an agnostic, even though you came on here saying you're an agnostic.
I'm not. So then why are you saying it as if I'm proposing the argument of divine hiddenness? I'm not.
You said it's the strongest argument against Christianity.
Okay.
But you're not proposing it? You think there's the strongest argument against Christianity, and you don't think you should be using it? And animal suffering.
Okay. Again, I'm not using these arguments.
Okay, then what are we doing here?
I'm giving, because you're saying that it's a problem with my belief. But then I said, okay, well, that's a problem with your belief because there's an objection called divine hiddenness. That's why we're talking. If you think that this conversation is going nowhere, you can just kick me off the live.
Yeah, I just
but you
generally
decided
don't do
to
that.
keep me on.
Yeah, I just generally don't do that. I the people that I kick.
But you
really,
just said. But you
look,
just said.
The
then why are we talking? Then what are we doing here?
Dwayne, let me tell you this: the people that I kick from my streams, and everybody in the comment section knows this, are people who really work hard to getting kicked off. Okay, now you haven't. I think this conversation has been kind and gracious overall. It's been fun. I've really enjoyed it. I hope you understand that there's maybe some cultural dynamics here. I am Armenian ethnically, and sometimes I get worked up. That's just the way we are as folks.
That's fine.
if you watch my stuff, you'll see that more so. But that was a response.
The reason I came on this live is because I'm just asking you a question because you said ask all questions.
Correct.
Now, for you to say, what are we doing here?
Well, that was a response to the comment you made earlier. That was a response to the comment you made earlier.
The response to I'm not proposing these objections?
Yeah, I mean, because you were proposing them as objections. And you're not, I'm not. And I said, what are we doing here? You proposed
I'm saying
as objections.
I'm not proposing them as my objections to Christianity.
Well, look, man. If I there's a lot of books behind me, and quite a bit of them written by atheists, and just generally unbelievers. If I wanted to just go around with folks who just throw anything out there, I could just pick up one of those books and read it. It's not the reason why I stream is so people can come in here and educate me on what the possible objections to Christianity are. It's not like I don't know them. So if they're not objections that you actually deal with, and they're not like things that you consider to be somewhat valid,
because I'm not Christian. Of course, I don't have to deal with them because I'm not Christian.
Oh, you don't have to be a Christian to deal with them.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. There's quite a bit of people who are atheists.
So a Christian objection, I don't have to deal with it?
No, it's an objection against Christianity.
And I'm not Christian.
Correct. One would assume people who aren't Christians would hold to objections against Christianity.
Then why are you saying that they don't just apply to Christianity?
Because they don't. Like somebody could be an
then
atheist.
What else do they apply to?
And the reason why they're an atheist is because they have an objection against Christianity.
So then what else could it apply to other than Christianity?
Well, it could apply to general belief in God. That's one of the things it could apply with. It could apply to all monotheistic religions. It could apply to all religion in general. It depends how you formulate it. It could apply in
which I'm not a part of any of them.
Any number of ways.
Which I'm not a part of any of them.
Correct.
Which is the whole point of this argument. Well, it's not an argument,
I just-
which is the whole point of me coming on this live.
Yeah, I suppose so. Okay. I'm gonna call it a day on this stream. Dwayne, I appreciate you calling in, man.
I just want to say, before I leave, to the comments that say that I'm trolling, I am not.
I don't think
trolling.
you're trolling. I don't think you're trolling.
I would not come on this live to not only waste my time, but to waste his time too, just to troll. Okay, these were genuine questions
Yeah.
that I'm genuinely wanted to ask him, and if this annoyed you, if this came off as trolling, I'm sorry, but this was not me trolling.
Yeah. So let me say this, troll. Calling you Jerome. Let me say this, Dwayne. I don't think you were trolling. If I thought you were trolling, I would have kicked you from the very beginning. And I can pick up on trolls pretty well, I think. And whoever in the chat says that they think you're trolling is wrong. So I don't think you were trolling. Overall, I appreciated this conversation. That was good. I think you have.
I appreciate
I
it
think
too.
you have pretty good objections. I think they could be formulated better, and therefore they could be stronger. Yeah, but I generally enjoyed this conversation.
Me too. I think you're very knowledgeable, but much more knowledgeable than me. But I admitted where I was wrong. I admitted where I made mistakes. But I appreciated that you led me on this panel and listened to me and answered my questions honestly. And honestly, thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Have a great night.
Well, guys, man, I think that's just the amount of energy that I have. My eyes started like twitching. As we're getting to the end of this, my left eye was doing funky stuff. Left eye. Yeah, so Jerome is right. I just that was. He said I got accused of trolling on this channel once. We are companions, sir. So I do have to go. I gotta be with my kids and take care of them and all that. So with all that said, I hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully that Tom and I will be on Monday together. So look forward to that. I'm hoping that I will be all good and ready to go. I need to be at least by tomorrow morning. So I'm going to go medicate myself a little bit more so we can overcome this. But take care. God bless you guys. And I'll see you later.